Yes, I am. Is my fellow commissioners ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, we're now live, sir.
All right. Are you going to give me a countdown?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see the commissioners are all on and our executive secretary's on, our court reporters all ready, and I welcome everybody to the Nevada Gaming Commission meeting for December 2020. I want to start off by telling everybody to have a happy holiday and a Merry Christmas. During the proceedings today, we haven't had a regular in-person meeting since, I believe it was January. So we've been doing this for a while. I think we're getting better at it, but I would again ask everybody who's going to join us on this meeting to please speak loudly, speak clearly, turn off any extraneous electronic devices and phones, and we'll all work together and see if we can get through our agenda in an expedited and clear fashion. So having said that, I would like to start this morning with the Pledge of Allegiance. After I first want to make sure with my executive secretary. Madam Secretary, are you ready to go?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well, we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd ask you all to join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of
America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for joining me in that. That's very important. All right, Madam Secretary, would you call the first item?
The first item is public comments. This item is placed on the agenda to give the public an opportunity to comment on gaming-related matters. We did not receive any written public comments prior to the beginning of the meeting.
Okay, very good then. Let's go to the next item, the approval.
Next item, pursuant to NRS 241.035, this item is the consideration of the approval of the Nevada Gaming Commission disposition for November 2020.
All right. Do we have a motion for that?
Sure, Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of the November Nevada Gaming Commission's disposition.
Thank you, Commissioner Fuchs. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. And Madam Secretary, I think for the going forward from here, we'll do like we did last commission meeting, and I'll ask you to call for the vote, and then we can get that done in a more orderly fashion. All right, so the disposition was approved by vote. I'd ask Madam Secretary if you could go with the consent agenda, which is next.
Next on your agenda is the items on the non-restricted consent agenda, which this morning are items 7, 9, 10, 13, and 14. Chairman Moran, I believe we have a disclosure on these items.
Thank you. I would ask Commissioner Brown, I think, is on number 14, if she'd like to make her disclosure.
Thank you, Chair Moran. I do have a disclosure to make for non-restricted consent item number 14. Icon Enterprises LP is an affiliate of a client of my law firm, Lewis Roca Roth Gerber Christie, Icon Capital LP, regarding license applications, gaming, and regulatory matters. Although they are different entities, they are affiliates of one another, and I therefore make this disclosure in an abundance of caution. I have no pecuniary interest in the outcome of this agenda item, notwithstanding Lewis Roca's role as counsel for the affiliate Icon Capital LP, for which I personally have not acted as counsel. I do not believe the independence of judgment of a reasonable person in my position would be affected by the relationship described on the record, and I therefore intend to participate today. Deputy Attorney General Brian Ake, is this disclosure satisfactory under NRS 281A-420 and in compliance with the disclosure requirements?
Yes, Commissioner, the disclosure is adequate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. I believe the consent agenda is in order. Is there a motion on that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for approval of the non-restricted items number 7, 9, 10, 13, and 14 as read into the record and recommended by the Gaming Control Board.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. I'd ask you to call for the vote.
Commissioner Fuchs,
Sorry, aye.
Commissioner Cohen,
Aye.
Commissioner Solis Rainey,
Aye.
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Chairman Moran.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Next item.
Next item are your restricted consent agenda items. This morning, those items are number 5, 6, And items 8 through 14, for the record, item number 7 was referred back to staff by the Gaming Control Board.
Very good. I believe this is in proper form for a motion. Would one of my commissioners make a motion?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of consent agenda for restricted items 5, 6, and 8 through 14 as recommended by the Gaming Control Board.
Very good. Motion made. Madam Secretary, would you call for the vote?
Commissioner Fuchs,
Aye.
Commissioner Cohen,
Aye.
Commissioner Solis Rainey,
Aye.
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Chairman Moran.
Aye. Madam Secretary, at this time, we've taken care of the consent items. I would like to also have a matter called forward. That would be the win item, which is listed as miscellaneous. I'd like that item to be called forward and placed on the miscellaneous for consideration at this time, consent. And I'd ask you that you read that item, Madam Secretary, into the record.
That item is the consideration of granting authority to file a notice of appeal and or writ regarding the 8th Judicial Court's order, case number A-20-809249-J, Department 14, as noted on the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Commissioner Cohen, did you want to make a motion at this time?
Yeah, yes, Mr. Chairman. I would move to grant authority to the Attorney General's office to file a notice of appeal and or writ, as well as any other related documents on behalf of the commission in case A-20-809249-J, and to proceed with this matter as necessary until final resolution.
Thank you, Commissioner Cohen. All right, we have a motion made. I'd ask Madam Secretary, in absence of any comments by any of my fellow commissioners, to call for the vote.
Commissioner Fuchs,
Aye.
Commissioner Cohen,
Aye.
Commissioner Solis Rainey,
Aye.
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Chairman Moran.
Aye. The motion is approved and will go forward accordingly. All right, Madam Secretary, can we go to the next item on our agenda?
The next item on your agenda are your non-restricted items that have been held up for discussion. The first item is non-restricted number 1, which are the applications of Andre Alfonso Scrivens for a finding of suitability and or licensure as an officer or manager of Affinity Gaming, the Sands Regent LLC, Plantation Investments LLC, Flamingo Paradise Gaming LLC, and the Prima Donna Company LLC, as noted on the agenda. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval. Chairman Moran, I believe we have a disclosure on this item.
Thank you. Let's see, on that, we have Commissioner Brown to make a disclosure. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Commissioner Brown?
Thank you, Chair Moran. I do have a disclosure to make for non-restricted item number 1. Sands Regency is listed as a client related in connection with another client of Lewis Rothgerber Christie. It's an owner affiliate of the firm's client, Jacobs Entertainment, Inc. Although the name is obviously different, Sands Regency versus Sands Regent LLC, I make this disclosure in an abundance of caution. I have no pecuniary interest in the outcome of this agenda item, notwithstanding Louis Roca's role as counsel for client-related entity Sands Regency. I do not believe the independence of judgment of a reasonable person in my position would be affected by the relationship described on the record, and I therefore intend to participate today. Deputy Attorney General Breinig, is the disclosure satisfactory under NRS 281A420 and in compliance with the disclosure requirements?
Yes, Commissioner, the disclosure is adequate.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Brown. Then we'll go back to item number 1. Do we have an applicant and a representative?
Yes, good morning, Chair Moran. Hi, sorry, Andre. Hi, this is Erin Barnett. I'm General Counsel of Affinity Gaming here with Mr. Scrivens on behalf of his application.
Very good. And it's nice to see you. I saw you at the board meeting and you did a nice job there for your client. I know that Mr. Scrivens on.
Yes, I am.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Scrivens. How are you today?
Doing well, thanks.
Very good. I think that most of the commission saw this and had all the backup material on this. You've never been licensed before, correct? By the Gaming Control Board? And
Correct.
Commission? Yep. All right. Well, I wanted to ask you just a couple of things. I didn't see anything there that was really a problem in my estimation of your approval going forward. We welcome you and we're glad that we can have you in front of us for the licensing as a CFO and treasurer. I noticed that there was 2 items that I noted that I want to ask you about very quickly. just on late filings, I noticed that in your presentation by you and your council that you had indicated that there are some new policies to ensure that we have timely filings. I know your filing wasn't within the 30 days and it was basically an oversight on your staff's part. But I was curious about the new policies themselves without getting too broad into them. Just briefly, what type of policies are you using now? You can answer this, Mr. Scrivens, or your council can, to ensure that these applications are timely filed going forward.
Yeah, Chair Moran, I'm probably the better person to answer that. Since we've had these incidents, we circulate a questionnaire to all executives where any changes in key executives are reported directly to our compliance officer. And she and I meet regularly to ensure that the filings are then timely made. And we did also have a comprehensive review with our outside counsel to ensure that there wasn't any other issues that needed to be immediately addressed in this regard.
Okay, very good. I appreciate that. And again, I just wanted to mention it because your client has a very good background, very clean background. I didn't really have a lot of questions there. My only real other question was I was curious about how Affinity is doing in terms of the COVID and how that is being addressed and handled with your own employees at your locations.
Sure.
Go
Oh,
ahead,
sorry, go ahead.
Andre. Okay, I'll go ahead. It's certainly been, for like everybody else, it's been a challenge, but it's one that I feel that we've have to date rose to the challenge to address, certainly to the best of our abilities. We've brought about numerous new policies to be in compliance with both the Gaming Control Board requirements as well as the Southern Nevada Health Districts and also in the other jurisdictions in which we operate. We've been very proactive in dealing with it with our employees, of course, following all requirements and isolating people and testing as necessary. So although it's certainly been a challenge, we have avoided any outbreaks among our employees and have had successful visits with the Southern Nevada Health District, which I've been quite pleased about. So overall, we've been pleased.
All right, very good. Well, I'm going to turn it over questioning. I appreciate that update on the COVID from yourself. I'm going to ask my fellow commissioners if they have any questions for Mr. Scrivens or yourself at this time. Commissioner Fuchs?
Thank you. Mr. Scrivens, I know this is your first time before us, and maybe could you just give us a little bit of, not so much your background, I think that's been established, but just your role now and your time spent at the properties?
Sure. Well, I'm CFO of Affinity Gaming. I've been there since mid-2019. To say it's been an adventure since starting and my short tenure, it's just, be an understatement, but I've enjoyed it thus far with my new role. Obviously, we get out to the properties in the Midwest, in Iowa and Nevada as frequently as I can. These days, it's a little bit more challenging, as Aaron said, with travel and what have you. But I think everybody is holding up operationally as best we can. And as Aaron mentioned, we're trying to make our employees safe and our guests safe as much as we can these days.
And I'm curious, with the California becoming even stricter lockdown, how is the drive-through traffic, the primary and those destinations? Because I would think, I know a couple weeks ago, the prim especially was doing pretty well, but with the further tightening, how's that going?
Yeah, through October and through the imposition of the new restrictions, we have seen softening for certain on the traffic. Since reopening, we were pleasantly surprised and pleased across the board in the number and amount of visitation across all of our properties. But for certain in November, you did see some softening of the drive-through traffic.
Well, I think it's good news, bad news situation for everyone. The good news is we're trying to really stop the spread. The bad news is the impact it has to our business. But you had a very clean background. It looks like you're all set to go. So I had no further questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fuchs. Any other commissioners at this time?
Yes, Commissioner Brown has some quick questions. Actually, just one question for Mr. Scrivens. Thank you.
All right, go ahead, Commissioner Brown.
How are you today, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for being with us today. A question for you. I know that the gaming world is new to you, and I'm curious, have you experienced any challenges other than the obvious pivoting with the COVID pandemic, like culture shock, transitioning into the gaming world as the CFO when you were previously with Arthur Anderson for 8 years and the director of Chillmark Partners for 11 and the managing director at C Capital Partners for 7 years?
I would say that my transition has been about as seamless as I could have hoped for. Previously, I oversaw in my job prior to Affinity Gaming, I worked for a private equity fund and led the acquisition of this company. So I knew it well to begin with. So I knew the challenges and opportunities that lie, but we have a great team. Aaron, we have a controller, our head of risk, Aaron doesn't report to me, but my controller and head of risk are about as experienced as can be and have made it very seamless for my transition. And I'm learning as much from them as bringing value to the table and helping them along. So I've enjoyed it, and it's gone about as well as I can have hoped.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Anybody else?
Chairman Moran, I had one quick follow-up.
Go ahead. Good
Good
morning.
morning. Good morning, Mr. Scrivens. How are you?
Good morning.
Good. I just had a quick follow-up to Commissioner Fuchs' question. I understand the COVID restrictions have limited the amount of time you're able to spend at the properties, but I was curious as to how you were intending to split your time once these restrictions are lifted.
Well, are you talking at the properties or at corporate?
At the property.
At the properties, we make regular visits. Obviously, corporate is handy and convenient to Silver Sevens and Prim. It takes a little bit more to get up to the Rail City property, but we try to get it there at least once a quarter as a management team. The same with the Midwest properties.
And do you reside in Nevada, or I believe your wife was still living elsewhere? I lost track of it. She's
right. I have a home in Chicago. That's where I am currently. Pre-COVID, I was in Las Vegas weekly. Post-COVID, it's pretty much kind of 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there, just to limit, exposure to travel and what have you.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I appreciate it. I don't have any further questions that haven't been asked. And I agree, your background is very clean and prepared to go forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Solis Rainey. Is there any other follow-up questions from any other commissioners? Not seeing any. I would ask at this time if Ms. Barnett has anything further that they wanted to add, or Mr. Scrivens, if you wanted to have a go out of it on the record and add anything additionally. All right, I don't see any. I guess we're, well, Mr. Scrivens, were you saying something?
No, I was offering the floor to Erin for a moment if she had anything to say.
Just to thank the commission for its time and consideration.
All right, thank you. All right, I think we're ready for a motion. Is there a motion maker?
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of the non-restricted item number 1 as recommended by the Gaming Control Board as read into the record by Madam Secretary.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Brown. I ask our Executive Secretary to call for the vote.
Commissioner Fuchs,
Aye.
Commissioner Cohen,
Aye.
Commissioner Solis Rainey, Commissioner Solis Rainey,
I'm sorry, I wasn't unmuted. Aye.
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Chairman Moran.
Aye, those darn mute buttons will do that every time. Good luck to you, Mr. Scrivens and Ms. Barnett. We appreciate you appearing in front of the Gaming Commission, and we wish you both well and have a happy holiday.
Thank you. You
Same
too.
to you.
Thank you. All right, Madam Secretary, next item.
Next item is non-restricted number 2, which are the applications of MGM Resorts International and Mandalay Resort Group for amendments to their orders of registration. It is also the application of Victoria Partners to convert to a limited liability company, and the applications of MGM Resorts International and Mandalay Resort Group for licensure as members and managers of Victoria Partners LLC, a transfer of interest and licensure of Mandalay Resort Group as sole member and manager of Victoria Partners LLC, as noted on the agenda. Lastly, you have the applications of Victoria Partners LLC doing business as Park MGM for a non-restricted gaming license and to conduct off-track pari-mutuel race wagering, and licensure of Corey Ian Sanders and Anton David Nicodemus as a key executive or director. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval with the conditions as noted on the agenda. Chairman Moran, I believe we have a disclosure. We have disclosures on this item.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you, Madam Secretary. I'd ask my fellow commissioners, I believe Commissioner Solis Rainey and also Commissioner Brown have two disclosures.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a disclosure with respect to non-restricted item number 2. I would like to disclose that I'm a partner in Morris Law Group, and me and my firm have previously represented MGM on litigation matters and related to the matter before us. Those matters of litigation have concluded, and I have no direct pecuniary interest in this item. And I do not believe that the independence or judgment of a reasonable person would be affected by this disclosure. I therefore intend to participate in deliberation and voting.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner Solis Rainey. Commissioner Brown.
Yes, Chairman, thank you. I do have a disclosure as well to make for non-restricted item number 2. Park MGM, MGM Resorts International, and Victoria Partners Limited are clients of the law firm where I'm employed, Lewis Roker Christie, in intellectual property matters in which I personally have not acted as counsel. I have no pecuniary interest in the outcome of this agenda item, notwithstanding Lewis Roker's role as counsel for these entities in intellectual property matters. I do not believe the independence of judgment of a reasonable person in my position would be affected by the relationship described on the record, and I therefore intend to participate. Deputy Attorney General Breinig, is the disclosure satisfactory under NRS 281A 420 and in compliance with the disclosure requirements?
Yes, Commissioner, the disclosure is adequate.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Brown. All right, then we'll go back to the record. Do we have an applicant? I think Mr. McGinnis is the attorney on this.
Yes, I am here. Chair Moran, Commissioners, Madam Secretary, Sean McGinnis with Butler Snow on behalf of MGM Resorts International. With me is Pat Madamba, Senior VP and Legal Counsel for MGM. This item is a entity conversion, which would then result in a Nevada general partnership becoming a Nevada limited liability company pursuant to NRS 92A. We've applied to have it be deemed a continuing operation with the Gaming Control Board, so the license for Park MGM and everything just continues on forward. The other piece of this is a equity transfer. Right now in the general partnership, Victoria Partners is owned 50-50 by MGM Resorts International and Mandalay Resort Group, and what we would be doing is MGM Resorts International would be transferring its interest to Mandalay Resort Group. So Mandalay Resort Group would end up being the 100% owner of Victoria Partners LLC. And of course, Mandalay Resort Group itself is 100% owned by MGM Resorts International. So it's really just a shuffling and an efficiency of administrative efficiency is really the reason behind it. And the way that, if approved today, the plan would be to do the conversion to a limited liability company on December 30th, and then do the equity transfer the following day on the last day of the year.
Okay, very good. I just had a couple of real brief questions. First of all, on the conversion and the transaction, basically, is my understanding that you're going to get a tax benefit from that as well, correct?
Well, I did. Member Katsoros asked that question at the board, and I didn't know all the particulars of it. I did do a little bit further research into that, and I understand it's really more of, instead of a tax benefit, it's an administrative burden benefit. So it basically would allow the entity to be disregarded for tax purposes. So it would eliminate the necessity of filing a form for it. It isn't that. That's really the tax benefit that you get from this. It's more of an administrative aspect.
Okay. And what will it do in terms of numbers, in terms of employees? Does it decrease or does it increase, or does it stay the same? Or how does that compute out?
I am not aware of any projected changes in any employee numbers or anything. Maybe Pat has some ideas.
Sure. It has, good morning, Chairman Moran, members of the commission. It has no impact on the employees whatsoever. The transaction is completely invisible, if you will, or not impactful to the employees. So it's just simply a matter of changing a form of the business.
Okay. I had one other question while you're on, and I welcome you to the meeting this morning, and I'm glad you could participate. Mr. Douglas Sandoval, he's filed applications, correct?
He has, and I believe.
Yes, he has.
Yeah, and I understand. Well, maybe I'll ask you, do you have an idea of when he will be coming in front of the commission for consideration on those applications?
I am
Sean.
not aware. I am not aware of when he may come forward. I know the applications were filed. I was copied on the submission a couple of months ago, and I know that when we were filing for this and working with the agent, we were nailing down who was in process and who was already on the license, because part of the continuing operation obligation is to move the individuals over to the new LLC file, which is why Corey Sanders and Anton Nicodemus are on here. But Sandoval is still in process, so he's going to be processed later. But I have not heard anything about when he would be coming forward.
But he did leave. He did leave MGM.
Okay, I was curious of what the status of that. His capacity is what, vice president and chief financial officer? Do I have that wrong, or is that accurate?
No, I don't recall Mr. Sandoval's specific position, but he was hired for development, generally speaking, and specifically with respect to the development opportunity in Japan.
Okay, all right. I was curious about that. Well, I didn't have any other questions about the transaction. I want to hear from my fellow commissioners at this time and see if they have any questions for you, and we'll see where it goes from there. So, do any commissioners have any questions for Mr. McGinnis or for this gentleman?
Yes, Commissioner Brown has a quick question. I'm sorry, I interrupted somebody. Please go ahead.
All right, Commissioner Brown.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Just a question about the servicing of the new debt derived from the 2 revolving credit facilities. What are the projections for that? Are there any issues anticipated with the debt servicing?
There are certainly no issues. The servicing is something that we provided to the Gaming Control Board projections for that servicing, which I would assume that you're privy to. But no, we don't. We have significant liquidity, continue to have significant liquidity to see our way through the pandemic.
Thank you. And then another question I have, sir. Do all of the properties remain operational as of September 30th, 2020, and are certain amenities still closed?
There are amenities that are still closed. We're adjusting to business demand. This is a really tough time. It's a tough time to do business. We're being proactive, not reactive, conserving capital, trying to keep our facilities open to the extent possible, to the extent that there's demand, keeping our employees working. And I'm just glad that we're seeing people vaccinated now. And, hopefully it's the beginning of the end of this terrible time.
Agreed. Thank you so much for that response.
All right, any other commissioners?
I have a brief question for Mr. Madamba.
Oh, please, Commissioner Cohen.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Madamba. Long time no chat. I just had a question regarding your Macau operations. I mean, we certainly read the numbers of Macau, 75% off of last year. You don't clearly understand why. But do you see the Macau operation starting to come back?
First, it's really good to see you as well, Commissioner Cohen. It has been a long time. Frankly, I'm not very well versed in the Macau operation. It's certainly out of my bailiwick. It's a separate publicly traded company. As you probably know, it has its own general counsel, its own board of directors, and what have you. But Macau, look, the Macau, I can speak generally rather than with respect to the company. And the Macau market, generally speaking, is a function of the visitation, and the visitation has been down significantly since the beginning of the pandemic.
Thank you, Mr. Madamba.
Okay, any other commission questions? I had a follow-up question. I don't know if it would go to Mr. McGinnis or if it would go to Pat, but I wanted to ask, about the employees. I don't know. I was curious about, in terms of your employees, do you have a lot of them and most of them back to work? How's that? About what percentage of your workforce would you say has gotten back active in the operation?
This is a rough guess, and the number has moved around, but I would say approximately half overall across the enterprise.
Okay.
And as you probably know, in the regional markets, we're facing either closures or partial closures. Detroit has been closed now for several weeks again. In Massachusetts, we're under limited hours. New Jersey, we're under limited hours for food and beverage operations, for service of alcohol, which thus has an impact on the casino floor. We're getting there in Maryland, Ohio. So, you know, we continue to adjust our business. And again, we're moving into a period of at least some additional closures.
Okay, very good. I wanted to ask you, Attorney, there was conditions on this, and I assume that those conditions are fine.
Yes, they are fine. We worked that through with the agent before the board recommended. So we put those conditions in place. One of them was modified to reflect the standpoint that there is an existing surveillance system already present at Park MGM. So it's just a matter of keeping it at the level that's already approved instead of like instituting a potential new approval, which is what a license condition normally looks like for that.
All right, very good. Well, I don't have any further questions, and if my fellow commissioners don't have any, I'd ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move for approval of non-restricted item number 2 as read into the record by Madam Chairman, subject to the conditions as set forth therein, and authorizing the chairman of the Nevada Gaming Commission, Mr. John Moran, to execute draft number 1 of the 50th revised order of registration.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any discussion on the motion? I don't see any. I'd ask Madam Secretary to call for the vote of the commission.
Commissioner Fuchs,
Aye.
Commissioner Cohen,
Aye.
Commissioner Solus Rainey,
Aye.
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Chairman Moran.
Aye. Motion passes, and I thank both of you gentlemen for coming down. It's always good to see you, Mr. McGinnis, and thank you for a great presentation, and looking forward to seeing you after the new year, maybe at our next meeting. But both of you have a wonderful holiday going forward, and thank you for attending and appearing in front of us here today.
Well, thank you, and happy holidays to you.
Happy holidays to you as well.
Thank you. All right, Madam Secretary, next item.
That brings us to non-restricted number 3, which is the application of Neil Gregory Chatfield for a finding of suitability as a director of Aristocrat Leisure Limited. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval.
All right, thank you, Madam Secretary. Do we have Mr. Burnett present and Mr. Chatfield?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. This is A.G. Burnett with the law firm of McDonald Carano, appearing with Mr. Neil Chatfield. Mr. Chatfield is a director and chairman of the board of Aristocrat Leisure Limited, a publicly traded company. He appeared before the board and gave an overview of his background history. He's prepared to do that today again if you would like. Otherwise, we are open to your questions.
All right, thank you. I would like to hear from Mr. Chatfield. He's been found suitable in only 35 jurisdictions, so I'm sure he's used to scrutiny, and his record's real solid. I did get a chance to watch him on his history, and I'd like to hear a little bit about his history from him. I'd like to, when he does that, to tell us how he intends on performing his functions when he gets approved today, and in light of him residing out of the state. So, Mr. Chatfield, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Chairman Moran, and thank you for having me. And in answer to that question,
always like people from down under.
in answer to that question, of course, during the pre-pandemic period, and from the time that I joined Aristocrat back in 2000, beginning of 2018, I spent a large amount of time in our various markets, particularly in the US. And of course, in the last period, that's not been possible. And I suspect with travel restrictions, it's still not going to be possible for probably the next, at least the next 6 months from Australia. However, we've had a very intense period of activity by both the board and senior management during this difficult COVID period, and I intend to continue that. And as soon as possible, would like to get around the business. I think, a key role of board of directors and particularly chairman is to have that, face-to-face engagement with our people. And I can't remember how many Zoom calls I've been on, but it's if I kept count, I think it would probably be in the hundreds. So we as a group, I'm really proud of what the company has done in the last 6 or 9 months to keep our people engaged and really focus on the well-being of our people.
All right, very good. I noticed that your background originally started out in transportation, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
You kind of moved right through that and getting involved in shipping the machines and different jurisdictions. I think Aristocrat has about 240 jurisdictions where they sell product in now.
Yes, that's right. I think it's my background, I guess, is varied, and I was certainly attracted by technology, the innovation and technology that I saw in the industry, and of course, supply chain is for us is very important.
Right. And, it brings to mind, these jurisdictions that you do business in and shipping these machines across state lines in the different jurisdictions, seems like they all have different requirements and regulations. So I'm sure that you stay up late at night trying to make sure that you comply with all the different rules and requirements as you go from state to state and also internationally. Some pretty interesting.
Yes. It is a really interesting part of the business. I think we've got a really solid supply chain group, and it's supplemented with very robust compliance arrangements, and of course compliance, moving that sort of software around as well as the hardware around is very important. Very
good. My last question, then I'll turn it over to the commission if they have any. Your background's awesome. I really followed it very closely. I like the way you worked and moved yourself up. I was going to ask you about how you found the regulatory process interacting with our staff, which I consider the best anywhere in the world. But how that went for you when you compare it and hold it up to the 35 other jurisdictions that you've done business in and been approved and worked with staffs in those jurisdictions?
Actually, very, very well is the short answer. I guess I've had the benefit of our compliance team helping me through the many processes. Susie Tang, who was the agent from Nevada, was very thorough. I met with her in Las Vegas, and I would say that the thoroughness of your processes, would be second to none.
All right, I'd like to hear that. Thank you. I don't have any questions for you. I was going to turn it over to my fellow commissioners, see if any commissioners had any questions for you. Fellow commissioners, anything for Mr. Chatfield or Mr. Burnett? I don't see or hear anything. Okay, I'm ready then, in absence of any other questions, but I'm ready for a motion.
Sure, Chair Moran, I'll jump in here. Mr. Chatfield, thank you for joining us. I know it's the wee hours of the morning, I believe, where you are. So thank you so much for attending today. And as Chair Moran stated, your education and professional background is very impressive. And I think Aristocrat is very happy to have you, I'm sure. So with that said, I'll move for approval of non-restricted item number 3 as recommended by the Gaming Control Board.
Thank you, Commissioner Fuchs. Any questions on the motion? Not seeing any. I'd ask Madam Secretary if she would call for the vote.
Commissioner Fuchs?
Aye.
Commissioner Cohen?
Aye.
Commissioner Solis Rainey?
Aye.
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
Chairman Moran?
Aye. Motion passes, and thank you, Mr. Chatfield, for coming down and spending some time. And it's good to see your counsel, Mr. Burnett, and we're looking forward to seeing him more on the agenda today. So with that, have a great day and be well, stay well, and take care of yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Next item.
Next item is non-restricted number 4, which is the application of Caesars Entertainment, Inc. for an amendment to their order of registration. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval. Chairman Moran, I believe we have a disclosure on this item.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. I believe Commissioner Brown has a disclosure.
Thank you, Chair Moran. Yes, I do have a disclosure to make for non-restricted item number 4. Caesars Entertainment Corp. is a client of the firm where I'm employed, Lewis Roca Rothroper Christie, in connection with intellectual property matters. Although the name Caesars Entertainment Inc. differs from Caesars Entertainment Corp., I make this disclosure in an abundance of caution. I have no pecuniary interest in the outcome of this agenda item, notwithstanding Lewis Roca's role as counsel for Caesars Entertainment Corp., which is not the same entity but similar name. I do not believe the independence of judgment of a reasonable person in my position would be affected by the relationship described on the record, and I therefore intend to participate. Deputy Attorney General Bynake, is this disclosure satisfactory under NRS 281A 420 and in compliance with the disclosure requirements?
Yes, Commissioner, the disclosure is adequate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. All right. Let's start off. I see we have Mr. Burnett present. Good morning again.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, again, members of the commission, Madam Secretary. This is A.G. Burnett with the law firm McDonald Carano, appearing on behalf of Caesars Entertainment. With me also is Mr. Jeffrey Hendricks. He is the Senior VP of Regulatory and Compliance for the company. Before you, what you have is a request to amend the order of registration for Caesars to essentially reflect what is the merging of 3 of its Reno licensees, 3 properties in downtown Reno. Those properties being Silver Legacy Resort Casino, El Dorado Hotel and Casino, and Circus Reno. The intent, Mr. Chairman and members of the company, is so that the newly formed Caesars Entertainment can consolidate the operations of these 3 properties into one location, under one roof, under one gaming license, for marketing purposes and for total rewards purposes, and for overall operations purposes. We provided the information on this to the Gaming Control Board, and they had a number of very good questions that we answered, and the 2 of us stand ready to answer any of your questions today.
All right. Thank you. And it's always good to see you, Mr. Burnett.
It's good to see you.
And Mr. Hendricks, he's here as well, correct?
I am. Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Good morning. I listened intently when this was presented before. I know that one of the reasons that you're doing this is you're gonna achieve a pretty good tax savings and savings of money to the company, and then that kind of surrounds into the installing of not having to install a separate slot system. So what I was going to ask you about is just briefly, if you could just tell me a little bit about how those savings compute roughly by the slot system. You got a new system is coming in, and its interaction with the 3 locations. Just give me a little brief overview for that, and then we'll see if we have any other questions on that, and we'll see if the commission has any. So go ahead, if you can answer that for me.
Certainly happy to speak to that. So to your point, Mr. Chairman, in order to fully integrate Caesars Rewards at the property, which is a major strategic objective for the company, one of the slot systems in use at the 3 facilities would need to be replaced if we were to still run under 3 licenses. So to do so, you'd have to install a completely new version of the product, which would be in excess of $1 million when you add in support services, new contractual fees, and then the installation costs. So in regards to that specific event, there's a pretty significant cost savings to using one license to facilitate one slot system. So I believe that's one of the kind of main material costs that would be alleviated by moving to one license.
Okay, so the older system wasn't compatible with the other 2 newer systems, basically. So you eliminated that.
That's pretty much right. I might say that it's more so just a factor of having multiple systems in place and using the right system for the rewards program that we're going to need to use going forward. So just kind of a compatibility issue, given that we had multiple systems running at the 3 different licensees.
All right, and you're going to have a pretty significant savings money-wise by doing that, correct?
We will on that project, and then more broadly kind of consolidating our back of house systems into singular systems that we can use across the one licensee.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hendricks. I would at this time see if my fellow commissioners, I don't have any other questions at this time for you, but I would ask my fellow commissioners if they have some questions for either you or Mr. Burnett. I don't see anybody.
Just one quick question from Commissioner Brown.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. How are you today, sir?
I'm very well. How are you, Commissioner?
I'm well. Thank you for being here today with us. I do appreciate it. I wish we were there in person. I understand that the company doesn't expect to see any savings due to labor efficiencies because they've already reduced staffing and labor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Can you tell me if there have been further reductions since we're in the middle of a pause right now, or if it's maintained the status quo since the last round of reductions?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to follow up on this as well in more detail if that'd be helpful to you, but there have been no additional material reductions based on the governor's recent pause. So to your point, we did make some changes earlier this year, which are an unfortunate byproduct of the operating environment. But materially, our staff is structured in the same way as it was immediately after those changes. Though certainly we have to manage this unique environment as all of our peers do, but generally we're in the same position as we were during that last announcement.
Thank you very much for that clarification.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Any other questions?
I'm just a quick comment, and thank you for appearing today. And I think this makes sense. You know, from an outsider's view, I think the Northerners and probably a lot of your patrons have always looked at that stretch, the row, as being almost one entity anyways. I think that through your marketing programs over the years, and even how you have addressed the connectivity, I think it's a very free-flowing transition between all three buildings. So from a physical perspective, I think it is a non-issue. And then now that we'll clean it up a little bit, it makes a lot of sense. My really only question is, how is the overall integration going with the acquisition, and in a time right now where it's a little difficult to do business?
Yeah, well, first, thank you for your comments on the properties. We agree. Obviously, we spent a lot of time and energy on those properties, and they are, flagship properties and incredibly important to the history of this company. So all of these efforts here today, I think, just facilitate and further the kind of goals that we've made of those properties and improve our customer experience there. In regards to the integration, we've been very pleased with the integration. Obviously, the elephant in the room is the public health crisis and the environment in which we're all operating. But from a culture standpoint, from the integration of business lines, I think everyone has really pitched in above and beyond what we could have hoped for originally. And I think our team would say that all of the items that we hoped to find when we were looking at this transaction, we have found as we've crossed the other side of it and are moving forward as one company. So very excited about where we are today. And of course, excited to, when our customers are ready, to welcome more of our customers back to our properties and give them the best service in the business. So overall, we're very pleased and excited to keep moving forward.
And the rewards program was probably one of the biggest benefits, combining those. And are you seeing some of that yet? I know it's probably tough because numbers are down, but are you seeing that rewards opportunity as far as marketing goes, really helping to get the name out and get the new properties integrated as far as to the public?
Absolutely. So you're exactly right. The integration of Caesars Rewards at the Heritage El Dorado properties was a key component of the entire transaction. And we think that our customer program has responded very well to that additional program. So we've been very pleased with it. You did mention we're just in a revenue environment that's, I think, singular in the history of this business. So we expect that as those volumes rise, more and more customers will get to experience the benefits of it. But certainly we think that that's already an advantage for our Heritage El Dorado properties and will just continue to be so in the future.
Great. Well, and I hope you're right, singular and extraordinary, and hope we don't face this part of our life much longer here. With that, Chair Moran, I am done, and I am ready to move forward with motion if we have no other questions or comments.
Excellent, Commissioner Fuchs. I believe you can go ahead and start.
Thank you. I would move for approval of non-restricted item number 4 as recommended by the Gaming Control Board.
Thank you, Commissioner. Madam Secretary, would you call for the vote?
Commissioner Fuchs,
Aye.
Commissioner Cohen,
Aye.
Commissioner Solus Rainey,
Aye.
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Chairman Moran.
Aye. Thank you very much. A motion passes, and it's always good to see you, Mr. Burnett and Mr. Hendricks. And good luck going forward, and have a happy holiday season.
Thank you very much. Happy holidays.
Thank
everyone.
you, and you too.
Thank you. All right, Madam Secretary, next item.
Next item is non-restricted number 5, which is the application of Winners Hotel and Casino, Inc., doing business as the Winnemucca Inn for a non-restricted gaming license. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval with the conditions as noted on the agenda. Chairman Moran, I believe we have a disclosure on this item.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. I believe Commissioner Fuchs has a disclosure on this item.
I do. I think this may be a first. Prior to my retirement in April 2017 from Wells Fargo Bank as Senior Vice President and Senior Relationship Manager for the Regional Commercial Banking Group, I held a business relationship with Winners Gaming, Mr. Rob Cashel, and Mr. Brett Shirley for approximately 12 years. I've also known the Cashel family on a personal level for decades. I do not believe the independence of a reasonable person in my position would be affected by the business and personal relationships, and I therefore intend to participate on these items. Deputy Attorney General Breining, is this disclosure acceptable?
Yes, Commissioner, the disclosure is adequate.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Fuchs. All right, do we have Mr. Reeser here?
Good morning, Chairman Moran. Do you have audio and visual with us?
Yes, I see you all there. Beautiful.
Very good. Good morning, Chairman Moran, members of the commission, Madam Secretary, members and staff of the board. I'm Dan Reeser with Fenimore, and I'm appearing with the applicants this morning. It's my pleasure to introduce the company's president, Robert A. Cashel Jr., who is to my left, your right, and Brett Shirley, Chief Operating Officer of the company, who is to my right, your left. We'd like to thank Chief Labadie and his staff with our specific appreciation for the professionalism and assistance of Supervisor Doyle and Agent Osborne in processing the application. And with the chairman's leave, we have a brief affirmative presentation highlighting the information we reviewed with the board and which is a matter of your record.
Thank you, Mr. Reeser. Please proceed with that. And I welcome you and your clients and those in attendance here. Cashel family, boy, a lot of Nevada history, a great family. And I'd like to have you go ahead and start and go forward. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing here. And if you could, Mr. Reeser, when you're doing your presentation, if you could touch on the promissory note and how that works out with the financing, I'd appreciate it.
So before the commission is the company's application for a non-restricted gaming application related to the acquisition of the Winnemucca Inn, which is located at 741 West Winnemucca Boulevard in Winnemucca, Nevada. The location has been licensed since 1978 and is currently operated by McClaskey Gaming RLC LLC. The location is comprised of 105 hotel rooms featuring an outdoor pool, fitness center, a 1,500 square foot casino, a restaurant with seating for 115 guests, and 1,300 square feet of banquet and meeting facilities that can serve 100 guests. It has a bar, a gift shop, and a children's arcade. McClaskey Gaming is licensed to conduct non-restricted gaming at the property and currently operates 105 gaming devices and no table games. William Hill, Nevada is licensed and operates a race and sports pool at the property under its separate license. The company plans to commence operations with the existing game composition on December 29th, subject to final approval of the applications before the commission. We have learned that the Humboldt County Sheriff has prepared to deliver the local licenses immediately after your action, if favorable. The location will benefit from shared joint and common administrative support with the company's other 3 nearby Winnemucca properties, the Winners Inn, Pete's Gambling Hall, the Sundance Casino, which in combination are expected to achieve a 32% EBITDA increase after 3 years of consolidation. The company will be employing all existing 78 full-time employees and the 14 part-time employees that are employed at the location today. Brian Stone will be the on-site supervisor and is already licensed as a key employee as the general manager at the Winter's Inn, the Sundance, and Pete's Gambling Hall. He will also serve as the general manager of all 4 locations with a successful acquisition. He is his licensed key employee LKE application is already on file with the board for this location. He is supported by 5 experienced departmental managers that are on property. The company is assuming the liabilities of McClaskey Gaming associated with the customer loyalty program, progressive payout schedules, and slot voucher obligations as of the closing date. Our memorandum on multiple licensing criteria demonstrates there's no basis for concern under the standards articulated in NGC Regulation 3070. The conditions recommended by the board are acceptable to the applicant. With regard to your specific question as to the financing with Heritage Bank, Heritage Bank has, and Mr. Kushel can elaborate, Heritage Bank has a long relationship with the Kushel Enterprises companies. As the commission understands from the record, Mr. Kushel is the chairman of the board of the bank and has helped that bank grow itself for the last 20 years. I may embarrass him with the quote, and with no offense intended to Commissioner Fuchs, if I'm going to pay interest to somebody, I'd like to pay it to my own bank. And so that relationship is a long-standing one. The financing for this acquisition, which is in your materials, is being added to an existing line of credit and under an existing promissory note. I take perhaps part of the question from Chairman Moran is that as an officer of the bank, Mr. Kushel is subject to Reg O, as also counsel to Heritage Bank for regulatory matters. His Reg O compliance has been reviewed by the FDC on multiple occasions and has never presented any issue as far as the FDIC or NFID, the Nevada Division of Financial Institutions, has been concerned. With that, if I've answered that question, we are prepared to answer any questions the commission might have, and that concludes our affirmative presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Reeser. Always a good presentation. You did answer my question that I was concerned about. Only my concern was just to have it spread on the record so that we had the understanding on the finances. You did a good job of that. That's always our privilege to have the Kushel family, no matter who it is, in front of the commission. Have the highest amount of respect for that family. Having said that, I'm at this time going to turn it over to my fellow commissioners. I don't have any questions right now. You answered my questions, and see if any of my fellow commissioners would like to dive in and have some questions for you or your clients.
Mr. Chair, I have one for Mr. Reeser or for Mr. Kushel.
Yes.
Regulation 3.70 sets forth the requirements on these type of matters for an acquisition to make sure we're in compliance with not having any monopolistic behavior. And I don't believe there is any here based upon your excellent memo that's in the record, Mr. Reeser. But I would like an affirmative representation that this acquisition, should this commission move forward, that it in fact does not breach the 50% threshold for the Winnemucca area.
So Commissioner Cohen, as set forth in our confidential memorandum, we have provided you both public and private records. We have used the public data available through the gaming abstract and also publicly available information provided by Dieter on the market in Humboldt County. The issue, one of the questions that the board asked was, what's the difference between Winnemucca and Humboldt County? And the answer is none of a material sense. There's one location not in Winnemucca that has fewer than 50 machines and is on the Idaho border and is basically excluded from the analysis. Taking the company's combined data, we presented to you in that memo both pre and post transactional data. There is no metric identified in Reg 3070 that that the company hits more than 50%, other than it is slightly over the installed base of 50% for slot machines after the transaction. But as to that installed base, it earns less than 50%. I don't want to disclose the confidential number, but it earns less than 50% of the slot revenue, which you might conclude means that some of the installed base is not necessary to secure that, but you don't know that until after you take over and integrate the company, whether you can take any games off of the floor. So as to the 50% mark that the Justice Department and the courts have set for Section 1 and Section 2 of the Sherman Act and our comparable provisions in Chapter 598A, there is no monopolistic impact on this. There's likewise no Section 7 of Clayton issue involved. As you may recall, Section 7 of Clayton deals with having tying arrangements, contracts to fix prices, and those types of things, and none of those issues are here. The only other Section 7 issue is interlocking directorates, one of Louis Brandeis's main issues when he was a practicing lawyer. And there, as our memo indicates, there is no issue with interlocking directorships here. I'd be happy to answer any further questions you might have on that.
Thank you, Mr. Reeser. I just wanted the representation on the record. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Cohen. Any other commissioners? Commissioner
Chair
Pugh?
Moran, I'll jump in.
Yes.
Nice to see you, gentlemen. And Mr. Reeser, you're correct. I do remember that quote quite well from Mr. Cashel over the years. So that's a good memory, though. And I appreciate you being here today, and it's nice to see you. And I think just for the record, it might be nice to have you talk a little bit about the timing and the relationship with Mr. McClaskey and how this came about, because I know you have a deep history in that area. And one would tend to think that you would be satisfied with what you have, but let's talk maybe just for a minute on why you're doing this and what you see as the benefit to the company.
Chairman Moran, members of the commission, Madam Secretary, Rob Cashel Jr. for the record. You know, it's funny how opportunities present themselves at strange times. And Terry Boyle, who is the current owner, along with Todd McClaskey, approached us maybe over a year ago. He was considering, you know, his exit plan and his retirement strategies, and so we started discussing at that point, and then we ran into the COVID issue that we're all managing through now, and it just became, you know, at some point we're, you know, thinking positively, we're going to move beyond this pandemic, and there's going to be life after this. It may be different life. It may not be normal as we knew it. But I think, you know, the way this property has operated since 1978, it's very well run and very well respected. And Terry has been a great operator and a great member of the community in Winnemucca. And the opportunity to acquire this, given that we already have a footprint in the market, just seemed to make a lot of sense for us in the long term, and our long-term commitment to Humboldt County and Winnemucca proper. So that's really what drove the decision. And, you know, granted, the timing is, you know, I think in my 30 years or so of being a Nevada licensee, This is probably the most challenging, most difficult time that we've had to operate. And so the timing isn't ideal, but I think the opportunity is outstanding, and we look forward to consummating the transaction.
Well, I'll tell you, I certainly trust your judgment and expertise in doing this. And like I said in my disclosure, we worked together for a long time years ago. It's been, gosh, 3 or 4 years now since I've been gone from the bank. But you're a very astute businessman, along with Mr. Shirley, and I think this is going to be a good opportunity for you. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't see any problems moving forward. And I will note on the REGO issue, which really isn't one. I know how those examiners come in, especially in the smaller banks like Heritage, and the scrutiny and the digging that they do. And I have no issues because I'm absolutely positive that the REGO conditions were followed, and there's no issue, there's no problems with any of that. So just a little on the record for that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, any other commissioners?
Commissioner Brown has a quick question.
Oh, Commissioner Brown?
Thank you, Chair Moran. I appreciate that. And anybody can answer this question. I understand that the additional debt has been funded by Heritage Bank for $5.772 million. And I believe the aggregate indebtedness now is $13.253 million. And I think the key items that were identified were for the acquisition of land, buildings, and equipment. Can you tell me if any of those acquisitions will be put on hold, or are you moving forward in light of the pandemic? What are your plans?
Commissioner Brown, I'm not sure I totally understand the question.
But before anybody answers, we just note for the record, we prefer not to have confidential financial information spread on the record. So if we could answer the questions in ways that avoid that if we can.
Oh yes, you can answer generally in terms of just whether the plans for acquisitions are on hold or they're moving forward.
There's no additional acquisitions planned other than the Winnemucca Inn acquisition.
The additional funding is for the acquisition itself.
Okay, thank you so much for clarifying that. I thought there were additional reasons for the funding. Thank you.
No, ma'am.
All right, any other commission questions? I had just one brief one for Mr. Reeser. I assume that the employees that existed prior to this transaction are going to maintain their jobs and be in the same number subsequent to the transaction.
Correct, Chairman Miranda. As I indicated in my affirmative presentation, there's 78 full-time, 14 part-time, and they are all going to be moving over to be employees of Winnemucca Hotel and Casino, subject to our due diligence on their applications that there are no outstanding criminal or other issues that have slipped through the cracks.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear. And I expected that because that's in keeping with the Cashel history, the way they treat their employees and the backbone of the industry. And I appreciate you filling me in on that. All right. Having said that, I think we're ready for a motion.
Sure, I'll jump in. Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of non-restricted item number 5 as recommended by the Gaming Control Board.
Thank you, Commissioner Fuchs. We have a motion. Not seeing any discussion on the motion. I'd ask Madam Secretary to call for the vote.
Commissioner Fuchs,
Aye.
Commissioner Cohen, Commissioner Cohen,
Sorry, I had it on mute. Aye.
thank you. Commissioner Solis Rainey,
Aye.
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Chairman Moran.
Aye. Thank you. Motion passes, and we appreciate you coming down, Mr. Reeser, today. I think we have a number. The next item is going to be with you as well. So this item passes, and again, thank you. And I'll ask Madam Secretary to go ahead and call item number 6.
Non-restricted number 6 are the applications of Brett George Shirley and Richard Lester Yoris for a finding of suitability or licensure as an officer or key employee of Robert Parker, Inc., Winners Hotel and Casino, Inc., North Point Sierra, Inc., and or Topaz Lodge, Inc., doing business as Topaz Lodge and Casino as noted on the agenda. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval. Chairman Moran, I believe we have a disclosure on this item also.
All right. Thank you. I believe we have a disclosure by Ms. Fuchs.
Yeah, and I did the disclosure for both 5 and 6 a moment ago. And Deputy Attorney General Reinig, do you need me to repeat that, or are we all good?
We're good, Commissioner, as long as you note that the disclosure made for non-restricted number 5 is applicable to non-restricted 6.
Correct, yes. My disclosure was for both items 5 and 6.
Good to
Thank
go.
you very much.
Very, very good. We'll incorporate 5's disclosures into item 6 that we're now on as made by Commissioner Fuchs. Okay, so let's start off. Mr. Reeser, are you there?
I am. Do we have good audio and visual?
Beautiful. Yes, perfect.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Moran, members of the commission, Madam Secretary, members and staff of the board. I am Dan Reeser with Fenimore. I'm pleased to be appearing today with the applicants, Brett G. Shirley and Richard L. Georges. Mr. Shirley, again, is to my right, your left. Mr. Georges is in the foreground on my left, your right. We'd like to thank Chief Labadie again for his assistance and our special appreciation for Deputy Chief Hoffman, Supervisor Kaufman, Agents Wilson, and Agents Petrosny for processing the applications in their usual professional manner. With your leave, we have a very brief affirmative presentation highlighting some of the information we provided to the board and which is a matter of your record.
All right, thank you, Mr. Reeser. Please proceed.
Mr. Shirley is before the commission for findings of suitability and licensing in his position as Chief Operating Officer with Robert Parker, Inc., Winners Hotel Casino, and the Topaz Lodge, Inc. Position, which he took on January 1st of this year. Mr. Shirley is one of those rare breeds of being a native Nevadan in the industry, with a gaming career spanning 36 years with the Cashel Enterprises family of hospitality companies. Mr. Shirley began his career in internal audit at Boomtown, and he's worked in finance, accounting, internal audit, and compliance functions for over a dozen casino properties, including Boomtown, the Horseshoe Club, Fitzgerald's Reno, the Alamo Group of companies in Sparks, Las Vegas, Mill City, and Wells, the Topaz Lodge, Pete's Gambling Hall, Joe's Casino, the Sundance Casino, Model T Casino, Star Casino, and Winners Inn. Mr. Georges is before the commission for key employee licensing as the general manager of Topaz Lodge, Inc. His career in the gaming industry spans 31 years, first in the security departments at the El Dorado Casino and the Sands Regency in Reno, followed by 8 years in the slot department at Harrah's Reno. Since joining the Cashel organization in 2000, he has served in casino operations positions at the Alamo Travel Center in Sparks and at the Topaz Lodge. He served honorably in the United States Army as a military police officer and was for a brief period of time a police officer with the department in Hemet, California. That concludes our affirmative presentation. On behalf of the two individual applications, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Reeser. I don't have any questions. For Mr. Georges, I know he's never been licensed before. Mr. Shirley's history is incredible. I mean, going back to 1984, no questions at all from me on that. I would at this time ask my fellow commissioners if anybody has any questions for Mr. Shirley or Mr. Georges at this time.
Commissioner Brown, just a quick question about the campground. I was interested when I watched the board hearings. I know it's very cold out, so I anticipate that there was a previous uptick in the use of the campgrounds and there were 59 RV spaces. Has that plateaued or gone even further down, or have people been braving the cold weather? I'm curious.
We are currently, Commissioner Brown, we are currently maintaining a level of about 20 RVs out of the 60, which is pretty common for this time of year. The initial spike, I think, was during those months of closure when people were just looking for ways to get out and experience something other than their living room.
Thank you, but 20 is still remarkable given the cold weather. So thank you for that update.
right. Anybody else?
Just a quick comment.
Yes, Commissioner Fuchs.
Mr. Shirley, and I just note your loyalty and dedication to the company for the 36 plus years that you've spent with them is well noted. And also that you, Mr. Kishel or Bishop Minogue, grads go a long way also. Got to throw that in there. But I know how involved you have been with the company, and I think this move up for you is just hopefully the pinnacle of your career as far as with the company. It's been a long one, and I know it's been a very trusted and good relationship. And can you talk, actually, Mr. Zorgas, a little bit more about Topaz? I know that it's been a tough couple of years with fires and more the environmental impact to that property and how it's fared through some of those really difficult times. I mean, you're in the middle of a pandemic, but this was after fires. Can you just talk a little bit about that property?
Yes, Commissioner. The fires, we've had things from fires, mudslides, tumultuous rains. So throughout the years, I think that Topaz has managed to engage themselves well with the community, and in that, I think that truly speaks to the success of Topaz. We continue to adapt. I think that's I think my military has led to some of that. You just adapt to whatever condition is being thrown at you at any given time. And in the course of this year, it seems like there's been a lot to adapt to, because if it's not a COVID, it's a fire or another fire. I think we've had 3 significant fires in that area this year.
And I agree. I mean, I think it's been really tough. And every time I watch the news, I hold my breath, because it seems like you are surrounded every time there's a fire that way. So it's good to hear the community stands behind you, and that the company, I mean, I hate to say it, keeps going, because I'm sure some days you've thought, with all that's happened in that particular area, we want to keep going here. And I think it says a lot for you and for the community to stand still and keep moving forward. And fingers crossed, we get out of this pandemic and Mother Nature cooperates for a couple of years.
Commissioner Fuchs, I would also amplify Mr. George's comments. The EBITDA and revenue numbers there have held up remarkably well. So the property continues to prosper, I think, even under difficult circumstances.
And again, I go back to the management of the company, and I think the support of the community and the management of the company definitely shows. So thank you for your time. And again, gentlemen, it's very nice to see you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fuchs. Any other questions by my fellow commissioners? Everybody's shaking their head no. I want to ask one, just a real in passing to Mr. Georges. Did you indicate previously, Mr. Georges, that you had a relationship with the Department of Wildlife? Did I understand that correctly?
No, no, Commissioner or Chairman Moran, that was Mr. Shirley. When Mr. Shirley graduated from Minogue, he started at UNR, and he had a wild hair that he wanted to become a wildlife biologist. But Mr. Kishel convinced him that his life was an internal audit, and the mayor, former lieutenant governor, reinforced that. And this is something I like to tease Mr. Shirley about, because while I did not serve with you, I was in the Attorney General's office, privileged to be counsel of the Department of Wildlife for many years. And so this is I must take this point of personal privilege to kid him again.
I'm glad to hear that, because I used to be the chairman of the Wildlife Division, as you well know. Yeah. And those were some pretty incredible times. I used to love to get up north and see all that it has to offer up there. So that's Mr. Shirley. I had it as the other way around, but yeah, I have some fond memories of wildlife, as you do as well, Dan, I'm sure. But in any event, I don't have any other questions. I would ask my fellow commissioners for a motion. If somebody would like to make a motion on this, then we can move on.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move for approval of non-restricted item number 6 is read into the record and recommended by the Gaming Control Board.
Thank you, Commissioner Solis Rainey. A motion's been made. Not seeing any discussion on the motion. I'd ask Madam Secretary to call for the vote.
Commissioner Fuchs,
Aye.
Commissioner Cohen,
Aye.
Commissioner Solis Rainey,
Aye.
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Chairman Moran.
Aye. Thank you. The motion passes, and thank you. It's good to see you all, and have a wonderful holiday season. Thanks for coming down today.
Thank the commission, and you all have a good holiday too.
Thank you. All right, Madam Secretary, let's go on to, I guess it's number 8.
That's correct. Next item is non-restricted number 8, which are the applications of Robert Allen Finch for a finding of suitability as an officer or key executive of Red Rock Resorts, Inc., Station Casinos LLC, and Station Holdco LLC. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Do we have Mr. Rubenstein and Mr. Finch here?
We do, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Madam Secretary, Mark Rubenstein of the law firm of Reed, Rubenstein and Bogatz, present with the applicant, Executive Vice President, Chief Operating Officer Bob Finch. Mr. Finch is prepared to talk about his background and answer any questions if that's your pleasure.
Thanks, Mr. Rubenstein. I would like to hear from Mr. Finch. He's never been licensed by the commission before, and I'd like to briefly hear about his history and a little bit about his responsibilities.
Absolutely. Good morning. I moved to Las Vegas in 79 and had the privilege of meeting Frank Fertitta Jr. When I was 21 years old, and wound up going to dealing school and became a dice dealer at Bingo Palace back in 1983. I stayed there from 83 to 86, where I went to the Las Vegas Hilton to get a little bit more experience as far as strip, and I was a baccarat dealer there. And in 94, I came back to the company. And so for the last 26 years, I have been back. I was a shift manager at Palace Station in 94, and then had the privilege to go to St. Charles, Missouri to operate our riverboats from 95 to 1998. In 1998, I came back and became the AGM and then the general manager for Boulder Station. Stayed at Boulder Station for a couple of years and then moved over to do the transition of the Fiesta Rancho to a station property. Stayed there for approximately a year, then went on to handle some of our wildfire properties like Barley's and Wild Wild West. Went from there to Fiesta Henderson, back to Henderson, went back to Boulder from 04 to 06 as the general manager. From there, I went to Green Valley Ranch from 06 to 08 as the general manager. And then in 08, I left properties and became the senior vice president of Native American operations and handled the development and operations of our management deal with the Gun Lake tribe in Michigan, as well as opening the Grayton Resort up in Northern California. In around 2017, we knew the Gun Lake deal was coming to a culmination. Then we only had a few years left on the Grayton one. So we came back to kind of reestablish myself with our properties in Las Vegas and went to Santa Fe as the general manager for about a year. Then went to Green Valley Ranch in 2018 for again about a year to see that again. And then in February of 2019, Frank and Lorenzo asked me to take on the role of chief operating officer for Red Rock Resorts. So long time in the industry. Fortunately, almost all of it with station casinos.
All right. That's, I would agree with that. Great employer, a great organization. I think very highly of the Red Rock. I went through your background. I've heard your history. I mean, starting as a dice dealer in 1983 at Palace Station, you're taking it way back. I think I'm the only one around that's older than you. So, but in any event, yeah, amazing history of hard work and climbing the ladder, right? All the way up. So now you're going to be being the executive vice president and chief operating officer. In that capacity, I just had one question is how are you guys doing with your employees and following the protocols on this virus?
I tell you, I mean, as you know this well, we are a family company run by family, and we've always kind of thought of our team members and really treated them like family. So our number one priority in this whole process was how do we keep our team members safe and our guests. Again, follow protocols set by all the standards and Southern Nevada Health, and then we stepped up a bit. We added temperature checks before we even opened back up again. We tested every one of our team members. Every month, I test a large portion of our team members. Actually, we just finished 2 days of testing. And at this point, Stations has done approximately 21,000 tests over our team members since we've reopened the company back up again. We have temping at every door. So we temp our team members and our guests to make sure that's the process. We have increased, cleaning is one thing, but we've taken cleaning, the whole industry has. And we always thought about keeping our properties clean. But now the word sanitation comes in, and how do we sanitize once we clean our properties? And so we have enhanced our internal maintenance teams throughout every property immensely to keep the properties safe. And I think one of the biggest things we did, and it's kind of shown from our guest comments and from their ability to return to our properties, is they really appreciate that. They have told us largely that they feel safe coming to us. Our team members feel safe, and it is really, again, continued the legacy that Frank Martina Jr. had about being that family casino in the valley, that we take care of our team members and our guests.
Okay, very good. I guess I should be a good attorney and never ask a question I don't already know the answer to, but I don't know the answer to this one. I'm kind of reluctant to ask you, but in testing your employees, have you seen a definite decrease in the positive rate on your employees?
I can't say that we've seen a decrease. We run about a 1.9% positivity rate when we test. And then we periodically have our team members call in. The company will have an issue at home. They've come in contact with a family member, a spouse, and that piece. And so there's a whole process where they get tested and they don't come in. But in our random testing, in our scheduled testing, we run a 1.9% positivity rate, which is pretty much stayed consistent all the way through.
All right, very good. Thank you. I appreciate it. And again, I really enjoyed reading your history, and I'm glad you're here in front of us today. With that, I'm going to ask my fellow commissioners if they have any questions for you or a motion.
Commissioner Brown, just a quick comment. I wanted to echo the sentiment. I'm very impressed with your history and your tenacity and loyalty and working your way up. And 38 years in the industry is really commendable, and I'm happy to meet you and have you before us today.
Thank you very much for those comments.
Good, Commissioner. Any other questions? Commissioner Cohen.
No, I'd be prepared to make a motion if there's no other comments.
All right, Commissioner Cohen, I don't think there are. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move for approval of non-restricted item agenda number 8 pursuant to the Gaming Control Board recommendation.
Very good. I'm not seeing any discussion on the motion. I call for the vote and ask Madam Secretary to do a head count.
Commissioner Fuchs?
Aye.
Commissioner Cohen?
Aye.
Commissioner Solis Rainey?
Aye.
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
Chairman Moran?
Aye. Congratulations. The motion passes. Thank you for coming down here today with us, Mr. Finch, and good luck in going forward.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you.
You can approve this thing.
Is everybody good to still keep going on the forward on this side? Okay. Now let's go ahead, Madam Secretary. Would you call the next item?
Non-restricted number 11 is the application of Ana Rosa Carrillo Munoz for licensure as a key employee of LGS Casino LLC, doing business as Lucky's Gaming and Spirits Casino. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval with the limitation as noted on the agenda.
All right, very good. Mr. Scheer, are you present?
I am. Good morning, Chair Moran.
Good morning, Mr. Scheer. Nice to see you again. Is Ms. Munoz with you?
She should be on, and Mr. Hanika, I see, is on.
Okay, I don't see.
Anna, are you on?
I believe she's muted.
I don't see anybody on that, Mr. Shear.
Yeah, we're in separate locations, so my understanding was she would be on. Maybe
Chair Moran, she's on and she is on video and I believe she's now unmuted.
Oh, okay, fine. Let me take a look at that one. Okay, all right. I'm having a little difficulty on my end as well. You can hear me fine, correct?
I can hear you fine, yes.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and go forward. Mr. Shear, you have a short history of your client, correct, that you could give us?
I do.
Okay, and as you know, my only two, as you're doing your history, my only two areas, and I'm kind of thinking about, I'm not crazy about the Social Security situation, the number and the use of it. That was one of the areas I'd like, and I know you'll probably cover that. And I wanted to make sure that she's already completed a course. As she was required to do. I'd like to hear about that in your presentation. So having said that, please go ahead and go forward. There's also one item I wanted to have you address was, did she file an amended tax return? Did that actually get filed after she prepared it? So those are the questions that I have. Maybe in your presentation, you can address those and we can move through this.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Again, good morning, Chair Moran, Commissioners, and Madam Secretary. For the record, I'm Scott Shearer, appearing today on behalf of Ana Rosa Carrillo Munoz. Ana Carrillo is applying for licensure as a key employee of Lucky's Gaming and Spirits, which is a small casino on East Charleston Boulevard in Las Vegas, consisting of 75 slot machines only. The Gaming Control Board recommended a 2-year limited license for Ms. Carrillo. As I mentioned, Ms. Carrillo is also appearing, as is Mr. Hamika, the owner of Lucky's. Anna is a dreamer. She was brought to the United States without documentation by her mother when she was only 3 years old. As she was growing up, she remembers her mother working 2 jobs while she was enrolled in school. Now a mom herself, Anna has worked hard to support her daughter. She was an honors student at Valley High School and received scholarships to attend college. After she graduated from high school, she had to find ways to support herself and then her daughter. She began working before she was legally able or eligible to do so. And to do so, she made up a Social Security number. She didn't steal anyone else's number, at least not intentionally, take anyone else's number or engage in identity theft. She had a friend who had a Social Security number and had gone to school with her there in Las Vegas. And she simply took the same first 3 numbers as her friend and then made up the rest of the numbers of the Social Security number. Importantly, she did not apply for credit or engage in fraud or other criminal activity using that Social Security number. She simply wanted to work to support herself and her daughter. It turned out that that Social Security number did belong to someone else, although after recently checking with the Social Security Administration, she was able to confirm that no harm was done to the individual who happened to have the number that she had made up. Knowing that she had not been eligible to work in her prior job, she did not disclose her full work history on her application. And I know that was another of the areas of concern. As soon as Agent Molitz asked her about the gap in her work history, however, she immediately told him the full truth about how she had supported herself and amended her application. With the help of 2 local organizations, Anna was granted DACA status and a work permit at the end of 2013. This was prior to her going to work for Lucky's Gaming and Spirits. She applied for multiple jobs online, but received no callbacks. She decided to search the old-fashioned way and began pounding the pavement. She went into Lucky's Gaming and Spirits and asked for an application. Instead of taking the form home, she filled it out in her car and took it straight back in. Lucky's Gaming and Spirits had an opening for a bartender, and the manager was so impressed with Anna's attitude and enthusiasm that she asked Anna to get all of her cards, her TAM card, health card, and sheriff's card by Friday. She took them all back in along with her work permit and was working and training by the weekend. She was registered as a gaming employee without objection. Anna lived up to her manager's expectations. Not only does she work hard and have a positive attitude, but she learns quickly. When the manager position at Lucky's came open, she was promoted based upon her dedication, attitude, responsibility, and reliability. After applying for DACA status, she was told that she was eligible for permanent resident status under the Violence Against Women Act as the spouse of a U.S. citizen and victim of domestic violence. She provided her school records to show her continued presence in the United States, her marriage certificate to show that she was married to a U.S. citizen, and that she continued to reside in the U.S. after school, and police reports that were filed with regard to the incidents of domestic violence. Ultimately, the United States government granted her permanent resident status. After her application for licensure as a key employee in this matter was filed, she became a U.S. citizen. This matter was referred back to staff last year by the Gaming Control Board. At that time, the board gave us an assignment to ensure that Ms. Carrillo had the training and support she needed to succeed as the manager of Lucky's Gaming and Spirits Casino. Part of that support was to ensure that there was a policy in place for background checks of employees. Mr. Hamika instituted a policy, and we helped him draft the forms needed to conduct appropriate background checks. Obviously, with everything that has happened in the meantime, the companies have not hired a lot of new employees. So there's not been a need for many background checks, but the policy is in place and the company has the forms it needs to implement that policy. The second part of the support was to provide training for Ms. Carrillo. Only a week after the board hearing, Ms. Carrillo completed a course in the Essentials of Gaming Law and Regulation at the UNLV International Center for Gaming Regulation. The background check policy and the forms and Anna's certificate of completion of that Essentials of Gaming Law and Regulation course were submitted to the board, and I assume that they are part of your materials. We had planned for her to take a second course in March of this year, but that course was postponed due to COVID-19. In October, she completed a course on creating an effective compliance program, also through the International Center for Gaming Regulation at UNLV. The certificate of completion for that course was provided to Agent Molitz. Finally, we believe that Agent Molitz updated the background and financial investigations of Ms. Carrillo and found everything to be in order. As you requested, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Carrillo did amend her tax returns. It's my understanding, and I'll ask her to confirm at the appropriate time that the amended tax returns were in fact filed. My understanding was there was essentially a de minimis amount of change based on the tips that she earned and did not report, and based on, frankly, her level of income at the time and her tax rate at the time. In conclusion, Anna has not had an easy life, but she has worked hard to overcome the many obstacles that she has faced. She is bright and a quick learner. She is dedicated and hardworking. She is a reliable and responsible employee. She tries to be not only a good employee, but also a good mother. Anna knows that she has made mistakes, and she's committed to learning from them and ensuring that they never happen again. Lucky's Gaming and Spirits has given her a chance to prove that she has the qualities necessary to be a good manager and to take on more responsibility. Mr. Hamika has committed to giving her the training and support she needs to be successful. We are asking the commission to give her a similar opportunity by granting her a license as the key employee for Lucky's Gaming and Spirits. We are confident that if you give her that chance, she will make you proud, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sheeran. I appreciate you handling that amended return, and you are obviously comfortable that that has been filed, correct?
That's my understanding. As I said, I know Agent Molitz did an updated financial investigation, but I would ask Ms. Carrillo if she could confirm that for the record as well.
Okay. Is she on? I'm not getting any. I'd like to ask her a couple of questions. Ms. Munoz, can you hear me? I don't hear anything from her.
I see her and she doesn't appear to be on mute. Are you there, Ms. Muniz? Can you hear? Could you unmute yourself, please? Turn up the volume, maybe? Can you? I still can't hear her.
I can't hear her as well. I did have a question for her. In addition to that, I was curious, but I guess I could maybe have Mr. Shear. Mr. Shear, can you communicate with her?
I'm going to try to reach out to her right now. That's what I was trying to do.
Yeah,
Her video is on. I scrolled down on thumbnail and she's on, but it looks like her mute button is pressed because she's speaking without us hearing.
Mr. Chair, I don't see a mute button, but is it possible that she doesn't have a microphone on her computer?
She was able to participate at the board meeting, so I don't know if she's using the same device or is in the same location.
Earlier, I could see a mute button showing up. Now it's not showing up and she's talking, but we can't hear her.
Is the volume turned up?
Well,
and maybe she can dial in.
Perhaps, yeah. Anna, if you could use the dial-in number that's in the invitation, the email invitation you received.
She has dialed in. Just give us a few minutes to have her promoted. So just give us a couple of minutes.
Right. While we're waiting for that, I'll ask my fellow commissioners if they have some questions for her counsel, Mr. Scheer. And by the time we get through that, then perhaps she'll be back on. So does any commissioners have any questions for Mr. Scheer at this time that we can handle?
This is Commissioner Brown. I had some general questions and I'm not sure who the best person is to answer these. It has to do with the HR professional that was supposed to be retained for implementing the new background check policy. I had some confusion on whether or not the background check was for all employees or only for people who were in management positions or intended to be in management positions. If somebody could please describe for me what has been implemented, whether or not using a third-party company, and just give us information in terms of what you're doing so that we don't have this repeat itself. Just a general overview, please.
I think the intent, Commissioner Brown, was to do a full background check of management employees and a skinnier background check of rank and file employees, frankly. The HR professional who was to be hired was going to be hired in conjunction with Mr. Hamika taking over a casino that he was attempting to buy. That deal has not closed yet. With COVID-19 has created some issues with regard to the that transaction and his financing of that transaction. And he's trying to, I think, still trying to move forward, but it is currently in litigation. But the plan is if he were to take over that property, then he would certainly hire a full-time dedicated HR professional to help him with all of his properties.
Thank you. And it's my understanding that the litigation is in the midst of proceeding. It's in Department 16 in the 8th Judicial District Court before Judge Williams. Is there a trial date? Have any dispositive motions been filed? Could you just give me a thumbnail sketch of the overall status of the litigation and the procedural posture?
I am not handling the litigation for him. He has other counsel for that, but my understanding is that it is just in the initial stages at this point and still awaiting discovery. So I don't believe there's a trial date that's been set yet.
And then just one other question. I'm trying to discern the distinction between the full background check that is being conducted for the management or people intending to be management versus the slimmer check that is being conducted. Could somebody maybe give us more specificity or detail so I can understand the process that's being undertaken at this time?
I can attempt to do so. Mr. Hamika can correct me if I'm wrong, but we provided a significant background check form where we ask the applicant for significant amounts of information, asked them to sign a waiver allowing us to conduct a background check, to be able to access, credit information and criminal history information to the extent possible. And then there is a third-party background check company that would be used to actually then do the background checks on all of the management employees. With regard to the rank and file employees, it's more of a review of the application, confirming the information on the application, checking references. All of those things will be done with the management employees as well, but and not necessarily using the third-party background check, but doing more of the standard checking of references. And then, of course, the employee would have to have a sheriff's card and would have to be registered as a gaming employee as well.
And how are the social security numbers that are provided in the forms by all employees, proposed employees, checked and verified to avoid this issue from arising again?
Again, with those that are doing the third party background check does the confirmation. I think with the rank and file employees, Mr. Amika, I don't know if you've addressed that issue.
Mr. Mika, you're on mute.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Alan Hamika, LGS Casino LLC Managing Member. We have actually implemented Jazz HR, which is a hiring platform. And along with that is integrated Verified First, which is a background software, checking software. So we input all their information, date of birth, social security number, address, and it runs a history of criminal and background investigation on that.
Thank you, Mr. Hamika. And do you use the Jazz HR for all employees or just for the management or future management positions?
We currently just implemented it, so we're going to be using it for all employees as far as bartenders, porters, security. We haven't had any upper management hiring as of yet, but every tavern has its own manager, and as well as Anna, which is the manager of the current casino now. So.
Thank you so much for clarifying. That was a point that I was concerned about, and I just needed clarity on the record. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Scheer, I had, or yourself or the other gentleman can handle this, but I wanted to ask Ms. Munoz. I don't imagine she's on yet, but I have some concern about this Social Security number, and I don't, it shows.
I think I'm on mute.
You're there.
Oh.
Yeah, I think I can hear you. Good morning.
Good. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can.
Okay, your counsel and the other gentleman have been doing an excellent job on your behalf, but I wanted to ask you a question about these Social Security numbers. And, I know that you had some hiccups besides the Social Security deal. And your counsel told me just now that you did file an amended return. You filled one out and it's filed. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. I did get all the taxes amended from 2014 till present.
Okay, and I think you were down in front of the board. You had indicated that that you have to quote unquote be honest. Is that still your contention today, that you have to be honest?
Yes, it's definitely there. I know that I have to be honest.
And you understand using a fictitious number that doesn't belong to you or creating a Social Security. You understand that's not honest, correct?
Yeah, I understand that that was not the proper way to go about it. At the moment when I did it, it was more like, I didn't really think of the consequences at that point. My friend was just like, come work with me. It would be fun for us to work together. And I told her I don't have a social, and she's like, they don't even check, just put whatever number. And she was like, you could use the first three of mine, and then that way you'll be around the same age. Okay. At the moment, we didn't really think of the consequences. Now, as I'm older, it was pretty much the worst way to go about it.
All right, well, let me ask you this. So if you got approved today and you're the manager over there, correct? Now, correct. As a manager, do you have occasion to check for underage people coming into the location and playing slot machines and engaging in gaming? Do you do those checks yourself?
Yes, I do. We also have a security that works 10 hours a day, and pretty much he's in charge of that. Whenever the bartenders are working without security, one of their responsibilities is to check everyone's ID when they come in.
So what would you do in terms of you, importantly, being honest, if somebody underage came in with a false ID and wanted to play the machines and showed it to you? What would you do as a manager if you're looking at that false ID and it's a fake ID? What would you do at that point?
I would ask them to leave. I made it very clear with all the employees which IDs are valid and which ones are not. A lot of people come in with homeless IDs and stuff like that, and we don't allow them to stay. So it's pretty clear with everyone that the ID has to be real and it has to be a state issue passport, Nevada ID, and so on.
So you wouldn't allow anybody that you found to have a fake ID to play the machines, correct?
I wouldn't allow them to play.
Okay. And you would take that ID and have them leave the property unless they could prove they were of age to gamble, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So you wouldn't have any honesty problems with that, correct?
No, not at all.
Okay. I don't have any other questions at this time. Do any of the other commissioners have any questions on this?
I
Sure.
do, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, yeah. Commissioner Rosa Solis Rainey, yes.
Thank you. Ms. Carrillo, I just wanted to confirm the timeline of when you used the made up Social Security. Was that before your marriage and you having your child?
It was 2007, and I had my daughter in 2008. That was the first time that I started working at Outback Steakhouse, and I was going to college, and I just pretty much did because I wanted to pay for my books. I did get a scholarship for my classes, so my classes were paid for, but the books were pretty expensive, and I didn't even realize that until I was already enrolled, and pretty much each book was over a couple $100, and I needed to pay for my books somehow, and my friend suggested come work at Outback with me as a hostess.
When you originally filled out your application for this position, why didn't you disclose the full history? I mean, you're much older now, you know, you're in a better position.
I thought that by me not disclosing experience that I had with somebody else's social was probably the right way to do it. I just didn't want to continue dragging this lie. I just felt like, okay, now I could work legally. Maybe this is my chance to do everything correctly. So I thought I was doing a good thing. I thought it was a correct way to go about it instead of, you know, claiming experience that I had with somebody else's number. I thought the correct way was to just start correctly. But as soon as he questioned me about it, I told him right away. I just felt like it would be bad for me to claim experience that I obtained with somebody else's number on my new application.
Do you understand now that omitting something actually was probably the worst course?
Yes, and after taking Essential Gaming Law, I realized that it was a huge mistake. I thought I was doing the right thing, and it ended up being backfiring, and it was a huge mistake.
Thank you. I asked the earlier question just because Mr. Scherer, in your presentation, I misunderstood. I thought you indicated that she started using the social in order to support her child, and I thought the dating of that was backwards. So thank you for that clarification. I understand the circumstances. You know, I am more troubled by the fact that there was no disclosure now that you are maybe a little bit older adult.
Yeah.
But I appreciate your explanation of that. Thank you for being with us.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Solis Rainey. Any other commissioners?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just have a couple of comments for Ms. Carrillo Munoz. There's more than enough in the application before us, at least to warrant, in my opinion, from my view, a denial, honestly. But likewise, you've shown, and you've had the full support of Mr. Hamika, which speaks well for you. You've acknowledged the mistakes you've made in the past. You've acknowledged the fact that, you know, moving forward, you know that these commissions and these bodies, you know, while they're willing to listen, the letter of the law can be laid down at any time. You know, I would support your application moving forward only on the condition of the 2-year limitation to make sure that everything you do is through the straight and narrow. And again, I think you need to thank your employer for supporting you, because from where I sit, this application could have gone, and I don't know what the vote's going to be, but could go in a very different direction.
Okay.
There aren't any other questions by the commission.
Chair Morgan, I'm going to jump in. Thank you.
All right.
Ms. Carrillo Munez, you know, I was thinking back to when you were in front of us or in front of the board. And I think that at that time, Chair Morgan pointed out that I don't think you were aware and understood what this privileged license meant. And it's been a year now. So you talked about taking the class. Let's talk about what the progress you've made in the last year of understanding this process and being a licensee. Can you just give us a little bit of what you've been doing, how you think that your awareness has been built and your status and how you feel about this license now?
Well, when I first filled out the application in the very beginning, my understanding was that this was an investigation of how I was as a gaming employee, basically since I started working for the company, and pretty much I knew I would be fine. After taking Essentials of Gaming Law and Regulation, I realized that it was more about what kind of a person I was, to have a good character, to be honest, to be ethical. And that's where I made the mistake. Like if I would have done my investigation a little further, and if I would have done my research a little better, then I would have realized that that was very important for me to disclose my work history, and things would have went completely different. I understand that having a gaming license, it's not the law. Not everyone could have one. It's a privilege, and pretty much you have to have good character, be ethical and honest to be able to obtain one. So I understand how important this is for people, for everyone who's making the decision. They have to be very comfortable. And I just want to assure everyone that I'm doing everything correct, and I plan on doing it from here and on.
And I appreciate those comments. I think the Social Security issue was not with criminal intent. I think it was a mistake and a bad decision. The tax issue, I think you have resolved now. And for me, I see a different person in front of us today than a year ago. And I think that you now understand your role, you understand the privilege, and I have no issues with you moving forward. I am in agreement with the 2-year limit. I think it would be great to check in with you in 2 years. But I see a different person. I think you now understand what gaming means and what this license means. And I have to say, I think you were a little bit of a disadvantage, and this was brought out by Chair Morgan a year ago. And I don't think Mr. Hamika had you prepared for what it meant. And I think as the owner and pushing this person forward and going in the future, Mr. Hamika, when you have someone that you're presenting, that you have prepared them, that they understand what they're getting into in the process, and that you take a little bit of that responsibility of guiding them through, as they will be a representative of your organization.
We will do. Thank you.
Good to hear. Again, I'm ready to move forward. I think the 2-year limit is absolutely the right thing to do. So Chair Moran, with those comments, I'll move it back to you. Thank you, Ms. Carrillo Munoz.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Well stated, and I heard your comments. I heard Commissioner Cohen's comments. I myself agree with what you both said. I think she's shown that she's not going to do that again, and she's going to do what she said, and that's to be honest. I could go with a motion and support a motion if it was made to give her approval subject to the 2 years. But I don't know if Commissioner Brown or Commissioner Solis Rainey have anything else to add. If not, then we can move to a motion maker.
Chair Moran, O'Connor Brown here. Commissioner Brown, I just have one more question for Ms. Carrillo Munoz, if I may, please.
Absolutely.
Since you've filled out the application in the first instance, I believe that was in 2017, can you tell me if you faced any moral or ethical dilemmas and what you did in those instances in reaching your final decision of what to do when you were faced with that conflict?
I didn't quite understand the question. I couldn't hear you clearly.
So in the last 2 or 3 years, if there's been a moral or ethical dilemma that you faced, what did you do? What was your thought process, and what was your conclusion?
Oh, well, moving forward, I haven't really had a situation because pretty much all the employees that are working with me now are employees that have been with the company for more than a couple of years. I haven't been faced with a situation like that. But if I was to be faced in a situation like that, like I mentioned in the board meeting, I would move forward the correct way if I knew the correct way. And if I didn't, then I do have the attorney and Alan Hamika that I would go refer to in case I wasn't sure on what decision to make at that point.
And that's good. It's good to understand that you appreciate your resources and know where to go to the extent you do reach or face an ethical dilemma in the future. But I do understand the circumstances here, and I understand what motivated you to do what you did. And it does appear to me that you have grown as a person and you've learned from your mistakes, and that you're now being transparent and honest and hopefully moving forward in a positive way.
Definitely.
And I do wish you luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if I don't hear anything else, I'd like to, do any of the other commissioners have anything else to say? If not,
Chair Moran, Chair
yeah.
Moran, may I just add just one more thing?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Solis Rainey.
Thank you. Ms. Carrillo, I just wanted to express that, I would be prepared to support an application, support this application going forward with a limitation. But this is basically a second chance. I'm troubled deeply by your lack of disclosure, not by the instances that happened, when you were much younger and such, but it is a second chance. And I want to make sure that you understand the importance of that and the privilege of you being allowed to be in the industry and given the second chance, given that blip. So with that, I'd be prepared to go forward.
All right, very good. Okay, I think we've all weighed in on this one. And do we have a motion to be made? I would hope that the motion would be along the lines that have been articulated by most of us, is that we're going to give her a chance to prove herself and show us that she is an honest person. And we're going to keep a line on it and give it for 2 years. So if somebody's inclined to make a motion along those lines, or any other motion, I'm willing to hear it at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd be prepared to make a motion to approve non-restricted item number 11 with a 2-year limitation as discussed and recommended by the Gaming Control Board.
Very good, Commissioner Solis Rainey. All right, not seeing any discussion further on the motion. I'd call for the vote and ask Madam Secretary to do a head count.
Commissioner Fuchs?
Aye.
Commissioner Cohen?
Aye.
Commissioner Solis Rainey?
Aye.
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
Chairman Moran?
Aye. It looks like the motion passed unanimously, and Mr. Scheer, fine job in representing your client. Ms. Munoz, you're being given a chance by the commission. So, in 2 years when we come back on this matter, hopefully you'll be able to tell us all the wonderful things you did and that you've maintained the integrity of the gaming industry and have been honest and truthful and treated everybody within the parameters of the law. So having said that, good luck to you and have a happy holiday season. And we'll go to the last item.
Thank you, commissioners. And I also wanted to thank, if I could, Agent Molitz, who did handle this investigation very professionally and very thoroughly, but very courteously as well. And we appreciate that. And happy holidays to all of you as well.
Thank you, Mr. Scheer.
Thank you, and good luck.
All right, we got one more on the non-restricted. So let's do that one and then we'll take a recess after that before we hit the restricted items. All
Non-restricted. Non-restricted number 12 is the application of Nevada Restaurant Services, Inc. for a transfer of interest. It is also the applications of the SD Family 2020 Irrevocable Trust for registration as a holding company, licensure as a shareholder, and the pledge as noted on the agenda. Lastly, you have the application of Allison Mary Esty for a finding of suitability as sole trustee and beneficiary. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval with the condition as noted on the agenda.
Very good. Is Mr. Esty and his daughter here, and also Mr. Schreck?
Do you see us or not?
I just saw a screen with your name on it.
Okay. There we
Hi
are.
there.
Hello. There we go. I don't see Mr. Schreck. Where's he?
I don't know. I haven't talked to him this morning.
You're not going to wing it without Mr. Schreck.
Mr. Schreck is curious.
I knew he was online. I was just getting ready to say something in his absence about him, but I won't now. Good morning, Mr. Schreck.
Good morning. Yeah, it's tough to bill if I don't show up.
I understand completely. I don't see anybody,
As a lawyer.
but I see your phone symbol on there. So
Yeah, I thought I had it on the video, but this is probably good that I won't.
so
scare
you're
you this
probably
morning.
in your golf clothes
I-
or something, right? You don't want to. You can't bill as much in your golf clothes.
Yeah, I don't want to see the flag behind me. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Frank Schreck.
All right.
You
want to just tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, as I explained to the board, this is step 2 in Mr. Estes' estate planning process. The first was approved by this commission in December of 2016. It was a transfer of 4,990 non-voting shares of Nevada Restaurant Services to the Ali Estes 2016 Irrevocable Trust. And as you know, Ali is Mr. Estes' daughter. The second step is what is before the commission today, and it's requesting approvals to transfer 3,000 non-voting shares of Nevada Restaurant Services to the Estes Family 2020 Irrevocable Trust, to approve the trust as a registered holding company and a shareholder of NRSI, to approve Ali Estes as the sole trustee and sole beneficiary of the trust, and to approve the trust pledge of the shares as collateral for a promissory note to Mr. Estes. The purchase of the 3,000 shares by the trust will be financed by a promissory note from the trust to Mr. Estes. It'll be approximately 9 years in duration. It'll be secured by the trust pledge of these shares, assuming approval from this commission. The payment of the note will come from initial funds provided by Mr. Estes to the trust, and then dividends and other distributions from NRSI to the trust that is generated by the ownership of those shares. The real purpose of this trust and his estate planning is to provide an opportunity, if they so seek to pursue it, to Mr. Estes' 2 sons, Bunky and John, to become part of this trust. To do that, they both have to qualify as licensees in the state of Nevada and the state of Montana, so that their participation in this trust as beneficiary is contingent solely and exclusively upon their receiving all the proper regulatory approvals in the future. And that's my story for this morning.
And you're sticking to it?
Yep, I'm sticking to it.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mr. Schreck. That's put a lot of light on this. I really don't have a lot of questions for Mr. Estes or his Ms. Estes. You know, we go way back, Mr. Estes and myself.
Yes, we do, Mr. Chairman.
And he wasn't that big back then as he is now. So he's done good for himself. I'm proud of him. So you've run a good operation, and Nevada's really lucky to have a family like yours, and you in particular, paying attention and being engaged in our main industry, which is gaming. So it was a wonderful surprise to see it. How many locations are you up to now?
About 200 in Nevada.
Yeah, that's incredible. Job well done. You said 2 things at the board meeting that I just real quickly want to just touch on. I don't have any other questions for this application. I'm totally in favor of it, but I do want to hear from my fellow commissioners, make sure before I make up my mind. But one thing you said is that you lost a lot of money in second quarter and you made back some in the third quarter. I'm hoping that trend is continuing. Do you see that continuing to get a little brighter for us?
Yes, thank you for asking. What it does, if we can just stay open, I can make some money. When it's closed, it's kind of really hard. But
it's hard to make money when you're not open, right?
That's right. That's right.
I understand that. And then the other thing that I really had to commend you with, and I did want to say it again in our commission meeting, because you brought back most of your employees and reopened most of your locations. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes, we offered jobs back to 100% of our employees.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, I didn't have any other questions for you or Mr. Schreck at this time, but perhaps my colleagues will have some. So I'll at this point ask my fellow commissioners if any have any questions for any of the people before us on this matter.
Quick question from Commissioner Brown. How's everybody today? Thank you for appearing.
Great, thank you. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for asking. I had a question about the Nevada properties and businesses versus the Montana. Can you tell me, comparatively speaking, how they fare against each other? Is everything back and open? I know you had the 100-day closure initially and another closure. And how is everything going in each jurisdiction and how do they compare to one another?
How do I say this? We've got two businesses. One, we have 9 Dottie's operations, small casinos. They have 20 machines each. But then Montana, we also have a slot route and have, I don't know, over 1,000 machines out on a slot route. And we manufacture our slot machine in Montana. Nevada is the place to be. In the whole United States, I think Nevada is the place to be because they open gaming in other places. My Allie's got a business. She's also got an operation in Illinois and she's closed right now. And so we've got a governor who is doing everything he can to keep things open and we really appreciate it. It's really good.
Thank you so much.
All right, any other commissioners? I don't see anybody else. I wanted to ask Mr. Schreck. Mr. Schreck, just one question on the conditions. I see this has not the usual kind of a condition that I've seen. Could you just take me really quickly, just explain this condition a little bit on the record, and I want to make sure that you and your client are in agreement with it.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but the purpose of the condition is to allow the Gaming Control Board to review the executed copies of the documents that consist of the transfer and the appraisal and the values, which we don't have yet and won't have until after these approvals are granted just before the end of the year. So it gives the board the opportunity to review final executed documents that cannot be substantially or materially different from what they viewed as far as the copies we provided.
Okay. Let me read the condition in real fast. Fully executed post-transaction documents, including any reevaluation of the Nevada Restaurant Services, Inc. appraisal, any resulting payment, recalculation, and subsequent payment adjustment, changes to the promissory note, the stock sale agreement, and Esty Family 2020 irrevocable trust documents that are substantially similar to the pro forma documents provided with the transfer of interest must be received and administratively approved by the NGCB chair or the chair's designee within 30 days of execution. So you heard that was a condition that the board was asking us to follow their recommendation and an approval on. I understand that condition is in agreement with you and your client, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it's a very reasonable condition.
Okay.
And we agree to it.
Very, very good. Thank you, Mr. Chair. All right, I think if there's no other questions, we're ready for a motion. If one of the commissioners would care to make one.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of the non-restricted item number 12 as recommended by the Gaming Control Board, as read into the record by Madam Secretary, including the condition just read into the record moments ago by you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Brown. We have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. I ask Madam Secretary to call for the vote.
Commissioner Fuchs,
Aye.
Commissioner Cohen,
Aye.
Commissioner Solis Rainey,
Aye.
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Chairman Moran.
Aye. Thank you. The motion passes, and I'm pleased to see you here, Mr. Esty and Ms. Esty. And good and best of luck. You're doing a really fine job for Nevada, and you run a really good ship out there. So thank you.
I really appreciate it. Thank you, Commissioner.
All right. Take care.
Thank you very much. And Have happy holidays.
Same to you. Thank you, Mr. Schreck. All right, Madam Secretary, let's take a 15-minute break and come back at 1:30, if that'd be fine with everybody. All right, we'll be in recess then. Thank you. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Secretary, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right, is all the commissioners ready?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Welcome back, and let's begin with our first next item, I guess number 1 restricted, Madam Secretary. You can go ahead and call it.
That is correct. Restricted number 1 is the application of BLC Group, Inc., doing business as Legends Grill Sports and Spirits for a restricted gaming license. It is also the applications of BLC Group, Inc. 401k plan, Leon Hoffman, Dylan Kelly Gump for registration as a holding company, findings of suitability as trustees and beneficiaries, licensure as an officer, director, and/or shareholder as noted on the agenda. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval with the limitation and conditions as noted on the agenda.
All right, thank you, Madam Secretary. Do we have an applicant? And I believe Ms. Connie Stanford.
Yes, I'm here. Apologies for the delay. I was being mute challenged.
All right, I see Connie Stafford has gotten in. I don't see any visual, and I don't know about the applicants. I haven't seen anything on them. Oh, here we go.
We are here.
All right. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, Commission.
Good to see both of you. All right. Let's see here. Is Ms. Stafford on?
Yes.
Oh, there she is. Hi, Connie.
Hi.
Good morning and welcome to our meeting. All right. Did you have a presentation that you were going to make? Or can you speak louder and speak right into the mic so we can hear you? It's a little hard to hear.
Is that better?
A little bit better.
I'm sorry, I think I have issues with my mic. So I hope you can hear me. My name is Connie Stafford. I'm an enrolled agent in the state of Nevada, and I'm here with Dylan Kelly and Leon Kaufman to seek commission approval based on the recommendation of the board with some conditions for a 2-year licensure. I know you had the documentation in front of you, and so at this point, I think we'd just like to go ahead and turn it over to the commission to chat with.
All right. Very, very good. It's a little hard to hear you. You're a little faint, but I think that most of the questions I'm going to have are going to be basically for your clients. Mr. Kaufman, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. You know what? I wanted to ask you, and both of you can chime in. You've been out there moving along. You've had some lawsuits that have settled. There was a question at the board meeting by board member Johnson, who's usually really good about asking. I mean, he asked about you stopping making payments on some loans, and you went through a little litany on, the loan consolidation company told you to do that. And then there was a lawsuit that Swift maintained somewhere around $62,400. They got a judgment for about $73,000. And it seems like, you had been struggling a while, and through what I think my information, I then saw that your current presently. You made a statement that you're current, I think, on most of the monies that you owed. There was a loan to Quicksilver and a loan to Swift again. So it seems like money is the big issue, and an inability to pay it back seems to be runs kind of like a common thread to this thing. So I wanted to hear a little bit about that from you, what you're doing to fulfill your obligations to people you owe money to. And, you know, are you in fact current on where you're supposed to be on monies owed? So
Yeah.
if you take me through that, doesn't have to be real extensive, but I would like to hear a little bit about that on the record.
Yeah, absolutely. On the record, for the record, Dylan Kelly. So yeah, I mean, I'll just start at the beginning. I'll go pretty quickly for you guys because it is long at this point, and I'm sure if you're first time looking at it, it is confusing and it's pretty long-winded. But at any rate, yeah, when we first started out, we received some loan offers. You know, almost as soon as we were in there, we had people reaching out. We didn't vet them as well as we should have, is really the bottom line with that. We took a loan that was a daily type of deal where you pay back 5 days a week, that kind of thing. And just as that was happening, we were attempting to get our gaming license. It took us extremely long time because of the way our C Corp is set up. For lack of a better explanation, I guess the gaming board and/or commission hadn't seen our model before, so it just took us a long time to get to that point, incurring legal costs and what not. And obviously, we had not planned on that. We both left our careers of 17 and 16 years previously to come and do this, and we both at the time were making our living completely at Legends. We inherited, I think 13 employees at the time. We have 17 now. So we were drawing a salary and trying to get through that, and it took 2.5 years. From the loan standpoint, we did borrow the loan, and we were reached out by a company that said, because we were new, they gave us, I'm not sure, they gave us the smallest amount of a time frame that we could have, and a company then reached out, and this is the naivety on our part. We own it completely at this point. And we'll get to that point. We are caught up to where we need to be at this point, but another company called First Decision One. That's right. They changed. They're out of business now. They reached out and said, "Hey, we deal with this, and just so you know, we can get you better terms. This kind of thing." I don't know. It was 6 or so months later. But they reached out and said, "Hey, we can get you a little longer terms, whatever you like." And obviously, that was the downfall. They couldn't do that. Their advice to us was pretty terrible. We should have had it vetted more. We should have included our attorney on it. We didn't. It was a mistake of ours. We own it. We know it. We learned from it, and we have paid off that Quicksilver loan. It ended up being about $144,000. So we paid that back. It did become difficult last year to do both loans, and the debt for the Quicksilver got purchased by another company, NBF. FTV. Sorry, yeah. And while we were waiting to hear from them, we were told that it was bought, and basically stand by. We'd made approximately $15,000 in payments to them, but paying one of the conditions of our payback for Quicksilver was that once we obtained our gaming license, which we did, in 2 years ago in February, that we had to pay a higher amount, and that was something that the lawyers negotiated. So we were kind of paying $5,000, and then we had to end up paying $9,000. So once we did that for about 6 months, it did become difficult over the summer to do both. Once that $9,000 had kicked in, and so we reached out. We didn't hear anything back, and that's because the debt was being purchased. I guess is what we were told, and we were going to ask to renegotiate the terms of that. We didn't hear anything until this year, actually. But during that time, this was, pardon me, let me go back in time frame. This is about October of last year. And as the new year came out, it became out of sight, out of mind with COVID. In February, everything became about COVID. The minute they reached out this year, which they did, they unfortunately, it did take them a little time. They did have a previous address on record. And Leon was the sign on. They had his previous address. So they said they attempted to reach out to personal addresses. Why they didn't send it to the business, I'm not sure. When they did finally get it to the business this year, we were able to renegotiate that loan, which is the current loan, and we've made our first payment. Because of COVID, the new company NBF was very understanding and made us
a renegotiation of that payback that's reasonable. And we've been able to do it now, and we feel comfortable being able to do it going forward, even if we're in this for another 6 months, a year, whatever it turns out to be with what everybody else is going through. So it's been a long road. It's been a lot of learning for us to be first time business owners with our business. Our business has been there 25 years, but this is our first business the last 4.5 that we've been here.
And you indicated, I know it, that I saw that you guys have even gone outside the business to try to come up with different ventures to continue to keep your business that's here before us today afloat, correct?
Well, that's correct. We, as this was going on, when things got tough, I mean, we obviously had realized to keep everything going and to keep our employees. That's kind of been, what we've gone back and forth on. We wanted to keep everybody, and we have, but we had to go out. Yeah, we both I've done ride share and delivery. Leon's done delivery. Anything we can do to help make ends meet and take care of our families while keeping Legends going for the last 4.5 years. And I'm happy to say we are. We're
How many employees do you have?
We have, including ourselves, there's 17 employees at Legends, so we have 15. But we do have shifts there now as well.
And everybody's getting paid. Nobody's missing a paycheck. And
yeah, correct. We have not missed a paycheck to anybody
through the whole pandemic.
Through the whole pandemic, and even when we were paying both the loans back, that was a priority for us, and that's why we did the other things. Took the other jobs we needed to during the time to make sure everybody did. And through the whole pandemic, we've kept everybody as well.
Very good, very good. Well, let me see if my fellow commissioners have some questions for you, and I appreciate your explanation on that for me. So do my commissioners, anybody have some questions for these men?
Quickly, I do.
All right, Commissioner Fitucci.
Gentlemen, thanks for being here. And I know your location. I know exactly your location. I have been in there before, and I know you probably counted on a lot of foot traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think is the store in the corner here one. That's
It was.
Yeah. So the baby store next to us. I'm sorry, for the record, I'm Leon Kaufman. The baby store, the secondhand store that they recently closed during this year, they actually moved across the street. Then there's another, which was the leasing office for the Harris Ranch. They're no longer there. There was a mailbox center that they're no longer there. So the foot traffic aspect of what's going on right around us is becoming a little bit difficult. Hopefully Kimco gets some of that filled, and there's some talk of, there's some rumors, I guess, that are out there that some shops might be coming in and everything else to help drive some more foot traffic on it. But the biggest foot traffic, obviously, is probably, in my opinion, would be Whole Foods, which is right around the corner there. And that they're always busy. Their tap room's closed now, and has been. So we get not only their employees for after shifters or whatever else, but a lot of people that, maybe the wife wants to go shopping and the husband wants to get out for a minute, or the haircut place right down there, Sports Clips, they send people in instead of, obviously you can't be waiting inside there. So as long as we have the reservation available, we're able to make that reservation and, and accommodate them on that.
And we have some good relationships. There's a Marriott right down the street. We have a great relationship with them. They refer a lot of business to us. So, we worked out with them, Whole Foods and the hair, anybody in our shopping center, we offer a discount for employees to come in and eat with us. So we've developed some good relationships in the immediate area. But to Leon's point, it would be great to have people, our neighbors there for sure. But, this is the struggle that everybody's dealing with right now. So we've stepped up our marketing pretty considerably since then as well. We've really gotten into internet marketing, which is, I have a background in computer science, but that's a little different with that. And so we've been exploring that. It's actually been successful. I mean, we've been doing it about 2 months now, but we have seen some good returns, even in a 25% reservation only pandemic. We've been using a program called Mini Chat, which is marketing campaigns online, Facebook and Instagram.
Well, that's good to hear, because I know, like you just discussed, that foot traffic is, besides Whole Foods, has kind of disappeared. And and it's here that you're excited about your business and trying other avenues to enhance what's going on there and your outreach. So I'm really glad to hear that. The one question I do have is, do you now understand the process of a limited license? We do.
And it was for us to know. For the record, like I said before, our understanding was we would have come up before everybody. We did not know until now. Obviously, we do now, with the benefit of Agent Bradford, who really worked with us, and we wanted to make sure we thanked him again. But we do know, we already have it set in for March of 2022 to get our application, and we'll never miss that again if we are able to get our license again.
Good. Well, do it early, and I'm willing to move forward. I do like having the 2 years restrictions. I think it's important to just see how you guys are doing in a couple of years. There have been a few hiccups, but I'm optimistic that as hopefully things turn around in general, that your foot traffic will pick up and your marketing efforts will pay off. So I wish you good luck. I'm willing to move forward and mark that calendar early.
Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fuchs. Well done. I don't know if the other commissioners, if anyone has some further follow-up questions.
Chair Moran, if I could, just a quick comment.
Yes, Commissioner Solis Rainey.
I just wanted to take a moment to commend both of you for doing everything you've done to keep your employees on the payroll. This is a tough time for everybody, and to see a small business owner work that hard to keep your business and your employees afloat, I think deserves commending, and I appreciate it.
We appreciate it. We were brought into their family. We have employees that have been there as long as 14 years. So we felt it was only fair to return that and fight for them in the same way, because they helped us cut our teeth in this business. And now this is what we love to do. This is our passion. And now if we didn't do that for them, it wouldn't be fair. So I appreciate that a lot. Thank you.
Very good. Any other commissioners? Okay, I don't see anybody. I had a question on the conditions. You're aware there's 4 conditions as the board recommended to the commission?
Yes, sir. Same as last time.
Are you familiar with those conditions? Has anybody gone over those conditions with you? So I
Yes.
have a good feeling that you know what those conditions are about, since you're representing yourself without an attorney.
Right.
But
No, we do, and other than the reapplication, we understood the previous 4 conditions as well. Our board hasn't changed, and we understand we're operating as a trust in the eyes of the commission and the board. So we do understand those, and we will submit our yearly. We don't anticipate any changes, but if there is a change, and we did have somebody else come a part of our ownership team, obviously we know we have to submit them for review. We know those very well. Now we know we need to make sure we get our application in plenty early, and we will make sure we do that in 2022 if we're allowed to move forward.
And you're familiar with the language. For example, condition number 1 talks about the 401k plan and complying with Nevada Gaming Commission Regulation 15. You got a 30-day requirement in number 2, in the second condition concerning any changes in the plan. You got language in the third condition about a 30-day on the prior year's plan administration has been completed, and the trustee will provide a list of participants. So you're familiar with that. And the fourth condition is prior administrative approval by the chair or chair's designee required prior to any change in person, entity designated as the BLC Group Inc. 401k plans administration or custody. So you're familiar with those. I paraphrase those, but I hope you'll tell me you've read them and you understand them.
Yes, sir. We absolutely do.
Okay, very, very good then. Okay, well, I don't have any further questions, and I don't think the commission has any further ones, so we're ready for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move for approval of restricted item number 1 with the conditions stated on the record and as recommended by the Gaming Control Board.
And would that be a 2-year limitation?
Yes, with the 2-year limitation. I apologize.
All right, very, very good. Okay, then we have a motion has been made. Madam Secretary, would you call for the vote?
Commissioner Fuchs?
Aye.
Commissioner Cohen?
Aye.
Commissioner Solis Rainey?
Aye.
Commissioner Brown? Commissioner Brown, you're on mute. Looks like we might have lost Commissioner Brown.
If we can wait a minute and see if we can get her back on, or we can go ahead and just record that the motion.
She did not vote.
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, there you go. Where did you go?
I'm so sorry. I lost my video connection, so I had to dial in. I vote yes on restricted item number 1.
Very good. Thank you.
Chairman Moran?
Yes, aye. Then the motion passes unanimously, 5-0. We wish you guys the best of luck and success. It sounds like you're hard chargers and you're going to keep charging up that hill, and we're pulling for you. So
thank you very much.
Take care of it and have a great holiday season. And we'll see you in 2 years for you to tell us how well you did.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time, and you guys have a great holiday.
Good luck.
Thank you. All right, Madam Chair. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Restricted number 2 is the application of Imperial Bar Inc. doing business as Atomic Tavern for restricted gaming license, and the applications of Paul Albright for licensure as sole officer, director, and shareholder. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval with the conditions as noted on the agenda. Chairman Moran, I believe you have a recusal on this item.
Okay. All right, then. Commissioner Brown is recusing on this item.
Yes, I'm recusing myself from item number 2. My law firm, Lewis Roca Rothgerber Christie, represents the applicant, and I must recuse myself. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for that disclosure. Do any of the other commissioners have any other disclosures at this time? No, seeing none. Okay, then we'll go ahead as Mr. Light and Mr. Albright on.
Yes, we are. Yes, Chair. Do you hear us?
All right. Yes, I do.
Fantastic.
Who would like to present the merits of this? This is the first time that Mr. Albright has been in front of the commission for licensing. So I'd like to hear from him and yourself, Mr. Light, if you'd like to jump in.
Absolutely. So for the record, Chair Moran, members of the commission, Madam Secretary, for the record, my name is Glenn Light with the law firm Lewis Roca Rothgerber Christie. I'm joined by the applicant, Mr. Paul Albright, who is the sole officer, director, and shareholder of Imperial Bar Inc., doing business as Atomic Tavern. Mr. Albright did provide a lengthy affirmative presentation at the Gaming Control Board, but we are happy to go over those key points again. So I'll hand it over to Mr. Albright.
All right, very good. Welcome, Mr. Albright. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair, members of the commission. Just a little background about myself, since this is my first time in front of you guys. I'm a third generation Las Vegas native. My great-grandfather was a county commissioner out here. My grandfather was born here. The vast majority of my family still lives in Las Vegas and hasn't left. I personally haven't left either. I went to UNLV for my undergraduate degree as well as for my law degree, and I'm currently a practicing attorney out here. My family also has been in the bar industry out here for almost 15 years. My parents own and operate Atomic Liquors on Fremont Street. And so my stepfather actually purchased a building downtown in the Arts District where the tavern is set to open up at. And given the excitement around the Arts District and the growth in that area of recent, I decided to, kind of join in the family industry, family business, and try my hand at it. And I'm very excited to do so.
Very good, very good. All right, I didn't have any questions. Your grandfather's law firm, what was the name of that? Do you remember?
So my grandfather wasn't an attorney, but his brother Vern Albright started a law firm, and Albright started Warnick and Albright. Those would be my cousins, Mark and Chris.
Yep, I remember that law firm. I enjoyed practicing law. Those guys were worthy opponents, I recall. Very good. Yeah. Okay. Well, you're a graduate from Boyd Law School, and now you're into bartending, I guess. Or
Yep.
I don't know.
Las Vegas story.
Or backwards. How are you gonna spend your time in running this venture and practicing law? I see you're with another law firm in town, and I wonder how you're gonna do that.
So it's a smaller operation, much smaller than what my parents have. And at least to start, we're going to have limited hours. We're not going to be a 24/7 establishment to begin with. And the vast majority of our hours are going to be weekends and after routine business hours. So I do intend to spend quite a bit of my time down there, at least getting things started. You know, the hope is that I don't always have to practice law forever and it starts to be, you know, successful enough to where it merits spending all of my time down there. But at this moment, I think the hours are going to allow me to do both.
Okay. Well, somebody said a long time ago, you spend half your life trying to get into the law practice and the other half trying to figure out how to get out, right? So
yes,
we've all heard that one. And in any event, who is your go-to guy or gal who you go to if there's an issue at the bar? Who's going to be the person that's really going to be hands-on all the time? Who's that going to be?
So my stepfather has been a major help so far. His name's Lance Johns, because he's down in that, he lives actually right next to that area with my mother, and he's down there obviously operating their bar on Fremont Street. But we also have another gentleman named Dan Adams, who up until just recent was working with Downtown Projects, opening up a bunch of their bars downtown. Who had to leave Downtown Project for personal reasons with his family and stuff. But he is also assisting me in getting things going, particularly due to his knowledge in the industry. So he's also going to be of help.
Very good. I appreciate that. I don't have any questions. Let me turn to my colleagues and see if they have any and possibly a motion.
Just a quick comment, really. Thank you for coming in, Mr. Albright. And I just want to say, I really appreciate your affirmative presentation. Although you're a restricted licensee, you came in prepared and you gave us a good overview. And I think that at times that's forgotten. And so I think probably with the help of your counsel there, Mr. Light, you came in well prepared. And I appreciate that because, like I said, it's been forgotten in some cases, and I think it's a good way to start a presentation. So thank you for your affirmative presentation. And I would just like to say sounds like there's a lot of activity around your new place, hopefully new place, a lot of construction.
Yeah, they actually we're right on 3rd Street. And so the city recently just took up the sidewalks, the street, everything from both sides of the street. They're redoing the entire street. They actually are now putting the huge palm trees back in, putting the median back together, but they're connecting 3rd Street straight with Las Vegas Boulevard right there. And so those will intersect right next to where our bar is, which is fantastic. And then obviously the underground tunnel, we got word that it's going to be hopefully coming to the Arts District. So that'll be great as well.
Well, it sounds like your timing might be right for this. So I'm ready to move forward. And again, thank you for being here today and being so well prepared.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions? Mr. Light, I had a question for you. There's 2 conditions on this.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we at on the licensed slot route operator and also successful completion of the regulatory compliance seminar? How are those going?
Absolutely. So the first condition about the service contract with the slot route operator, that has been satisfied. Mr. Albright is contracted with Sartini Gaming. And the second condition, Mr. Albright is signed up for the next seminar, which is in January.
Okay, very good then. All right, I don't have any other questions. Do my colleagues, is there a motion out there to be made on this one?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. I move for approval of restricted item number 2 as recommended by the Gaming Control Board.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, we have a motion made. I'd ask our Executive Secretary if she would do a head count.
Commissioner Fuchs,
Aye.
Commissioner Cohen,
Aye.
Commissioner Solis Rainey,
Aye.
Chairman Moran.
Aye. Motion passes, and thank you very much, and best of luck in your new venture down there, and have a happy and safe holiday season.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Same to you.
All right. Next item.
Restricted number 3 is the application of EE Tavern Group LLC doing business as Sneakers Bar and Grill number 1 for restricted gaming license. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval.
All right, very good. And I see that Commissioner Brown is back. Welcome back again. Okay, we're all set on that. Then do we have an applicant on this item? Mr. Everett, Mr. Westenberg.
Yep, I'm Matt Everett. I'm here. I don't know if you can hear me. I believe I'm unmuted.
Yes, I can hear you fine. Thank you.
Perfect.
And is the other gentleman here as well?
He should be. He's in a different location, but we've been texting while we've been watching the ongoing proceedings. So I know he was in front of his computer. So I don't know what happened.
It appears that he is logged in, but he is on mute.
Oh.
Might let him know that.
Thank you very much. I am in with all of you. I apologize for that. My fancy dancy Apple computer just doesn't hook up as fast as others do.
Oh, welcome to the party, so to speak.
Thank you so much, Chairman.
Okay, I noticed a couple of things on yours. I don't have a lot of questions. Is this your third or fourth location?
Fourth, sir.
Fourth, okay. I had it down for some reason as a third, and I see it down here. Okay, fourth. This is on your fourth location. How are your other three locations doing?
I'd say we're doing pretty well. All things considered, I answer and echo what the other folks have said today. The 25% restrictions were quite difficult at their onset, but I think that we found some good ways to get around, to be creative and have tables that are distanced and take reservations and things of that nature, which actually, kind of is improving some of our practices. Also, the cleaning practices and disinfecting practices. So, and I'll echo what one of the fellows earlier said about in their casinos, that our guests are noticing this extra attention to their safety and the safety of our staff members. And subsequently, I think that we're not gaining customers because we can't fill places up, but we're doing well, all things considered. We're not failing by any stretch of the imagination.
And you're aware of the protocols and the requirements, and you're in compliance with those?
Yes, 100% of the time.
And you're checking on your employees and making sure that they're following the rules and the direction of you both at all your locations?
Absolutely. Each of us drops by at least 3 of the locations every single day. And what I mean by that is we are duplicated at a couple of them. But I mean, I go to 3 or 4 every single day, and I know that Matt does as well.
Absolutely.
And you had indicated that at this fourth location, you're making not a lot of changes, but that you were, quote, shining it up. What are you doing? Just doing kind of a cleanup remodel, or what are you doing at this location?
Well, the location has been there for 20 plus years, and the previous owners, put a lot of heart and soul into it. But towards the end, they got tired and just kind of let things go by the wayside as far as updates, and improvements on the cosmetic side, and it looks a little tired and needs to be refreshed. So we're going to be working on doing that, and try to make it noticeable for the regulars that have been going out there to notice improvements, and then try to garner new patrons when we're able to, as far as on the occupancy side, because of all the new residences out there and stuff. There's a lot of opportunity to gain new customers once we're able, to operate and do so.
All right. Are there monies owed to the IRS? I noticed I had a little note on my reminder list here, and if there are you in the process of taking that down?
Absolutely, we are. The IRS monies came as a surprise, and it was a pleasant surprise because 2019, though it was only our first year of full business, we actually did quite well, prior to COVID stuff. And as would have it, we didn't need to borrow quite as much money to make the purchases that we made. But then we are also an LLC, which taxes like an S corp. And those when we did our taxes, all of a sudden we found out that we'd actually had a higher tax liability. So what I'll be doing, and I can't speak for Matt, but for mine, I'm going to sign up with the payment plan. I believe they offer 3 or 5 years, and I'll get it knocked out in 2 or less. Because as I said, we're doing decently well right now. So I still see cash flow both to the partners as well as to ongoing business stuff.
Are you current on your IRS filings?
I am, sir. And actually, we learn something new every time that we talk to you guys. We're always learning. And so I actually already put in my third quarter 2020 estimated quarterlies, which I hadn't done before because I didn't expect to make the money. So I've already gotten on top of that, and I have the Q4 ready to go. I believe it's due January 15th.
Okay, very good. My last question at this point is, you're going for 15 machines here. Your other 3 locations, how many machines total at those locations?
15 at each of them.
Yes, 15 also.
Okay. All right. So, all right. If you get this on, you're going to be up to 60 machines then.
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. That's the only questions I have for right now. I'm going to ask my colleagues if anyone has any questions at this time. So commissioners, do you have anything for this gentleman? Or?
Just a quick comment. And I think I just want to reiterate the discussion at the board meeting, primarily by member Katsaros, really to Mr. Westenberg, and that what you might deem as inconsequential and dated are really events that nonetheless should have been reportable. And I hope that if you experience something within your organization that you might consider inconsequential, that you think twice about it and recall this conversation and determine if there's a self-reporting issue or if you need to talk to the board about it. Because I think there were some hiccups, and I just want you to keep that in mind as you move forward, because that is a reflection of your business acumen and your integrity. Is self-reporting. So you kind of understand that now?
Yes, ma'am, I absolutely do. We learned, as I said, we keep learning new stuff. And one of the things that I think Mr. Katsaros had me do is reach out to my attorney and get him to do a LexisNexis search and make darn sure there wasn't anything else new that I wasn't really aware of. I took pretty copious notes about what we learned so far, both with Ms. McElhaney and then also with Ms. Tan, the investigators who discovered different things that really were quite a bit in the past. But I respect what you're saying, and I agree with you.
Great, and you're growing. And I think for both of you, you need to have those legal and accounting professionals next to you as you grow, because you just don't want to have any hiccups. And I think that access to them is necessary, and also communication with the board, so that if you have a question about anything that, again, that you might not think is a big deal, but could be, the board's open. So please make sure you contact them. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from the commission? Not seeing any. Do we have a motion?
Sure. How's that? Mr. Chairman?
Oh, Commissioner Fuchs.
Got a little scary there for a minute, huh?
I'm going to have to embark on something I haven't ever had to do and make my own motion.
I'll go ahead and recommend approval of restricted item number 3 as recommended by the Gaming Control Board.
Very good. With motion made, I would ask Madam Secretary, not seeing any need for discussion, to call for the vote.
Commissioner Fuchs?
Aye.
Commissioner Cohen?
Aye.
Commissioner Solis Rainey?
Aye.
Commissioner Brown? Commissioner Brown? We are seeing a thumbs up from Commissioner Brown. We apparently have lost her audio connection.
The chair will acknowledge the sign language from Commissioner Brown as affirmative vote, and the motion passes unanimously, 4 and a 5th one with a hand signal. Okay. I love doing the meetings this way. It's really nice, isn't it? Anyway, motion passes. Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all of your advice. We take it to heart, and we definitely will move forward.
I hope you do. Just one last thing, and you kind of get the flavor for it. Really, try to get your gaming council involved in some of this. It'll make it so much easier for you guys. And then, we don't have to hear about the dog ate the homework. We can take the attorney and turn them upside down. Okay.
I heard that loud and clear from Ms. Fuchs moments before we came on, and I actually texted Matt and said, oh gosh, we probably need to bring a guide next time. We would be more respectful by doing so.
We want to see you guys be successful, just like all our licensees. And I think that there's a time and a place for attorneys, and it can make your journey a lot easier, I think. So anyway, thank you and good luck.
Thank you very
Happy
much.
holidays.
All right, we'll go to the next item then. Item number 4, I guess. Madam Secretary?
Restricted number 4 is the application of MJRA Inc. doing business as Top Shelf Wine and Spirits for restricted gaming license, and the applications of Milad Juhag and Ramirez L. Reyes for licensure as officer, director, and/or shareholder. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval with the condition as noted on the agenda.
Okay, very good. Do we have an applicant? Last time the applicant was on video, he was in the stock room, I recall. Is he here today? Mr. Reyes, Mr. Julag?
Mr. Julag, it looks like you're muted. And also Mr. Ron.
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, there we go.
We're in the car.
How are you?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Well, there's always a first for everything, and unfortunately, we are the first to be in a vehicle when we have a meeting.
We were in the location before this, and we had to step out just for a quick.
You're not driving. You have your
No,
belt.
I'm not driving. I'm just a passenger.
Okay, and
with my partner.
Okay, can we?
We are actually parked in the location. I don't know what location is this, but we have in the parking lot right now.
Okay, well, we'll make this real fast for you if we can.
Yes.
The last time that I saw you in front of the board, Mr. Reyes had never been licensed before. Now, you've been licensed before, correct?
The question is to Milad.
Yeah. Who's been
Yes,
licensed?
I used to be a key employee for Baja Liquor.
Huh?
You just smart.
You hear me?
I can hear you now. I'm wondering.
Yes, I used to be a key employee for Baja Liquor.
Okay. I'm wondering if you're taking these proceedings serious enough. That's what I'm wondering.
I can.
So,
let me see if I hear it better now.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I hear it now. Yes.
Okay. My statement was, I wonder if you're taking this serious enough.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, he is. Now he's on.
The last time I saw you, you were in the stock room for the video meeting, and you said something at that, and what you said was that a question was asked of you by Board Member Johnson, and he asked, "Who's going to take care of the machines?" And you said your partner Julog's going to take care of the machines, and
This is for me. Oh, that's for Reyes. Yeah.
That was a question for me.
That was what?
That was a question. Ram, is that right?
Okay. So who's going to take care of the machines?
Is Milad, and I'm just a silent partner.
Okay. And you're a silent partner for how much percentage?
It's a 50-50%.
Have you ever been licensed before?
No, sir, I haven't.
Okay. And what about your partner next to you, the driver of the vehicle? Is he licensed?
He is a key employee.
Okay. So he's a key employee now. Is he going to
Yes,
be
sir.
the one that's going to be in charge of watching the machines?
Yes.
Okay. And how's he going to do that? Is he going to be on property all the time?
He's on the property most of the time.
Who are you going to have a slot route operator?
Are we gonna have? I'm sorry.
Are you going to have a slot route operator?
Meaning slot route. I don't
Somebody
understand.
manage the machines, operate the machines under a space lease agreement?
I
Who's gonna
believe
watch
all
over the
these-
machines?
I believe so because he is gonna be in charge. I don't know how these things operate, but I believe so.
Okay, so you don't know how these things operate, and he says that you're the one who's gonna take over and handle the
No,
machine.
no,
I'm
no,
trying
I'm
to
not the
figure
one
out
who's.
who's gonna be watching over the gaming devices that you're coming to us with your hat in your hand, asking us to allow you to put some slot machines in your place. And right now, I'm not getting a real warm and fuzzy feeling that I really would like to have you both be in charge of some gaming devices at your establishment.
He is in charge of all the devices. He is in charge. What I'm saying is, I'm not the one. I'm just a silent partner. I'm not the one who's handling the machine, but he is behind like all the machines. He'll be hands on all day on a machine.
Well, he said that your partner is that his
No,
partner.
because he missed and
We get confused.
question. He thought the question was to him. The question was to me because at first I thought you guys have a question for me, but then they asked for Milad, my partner, and then he came on to the interview too.
So where are you going to get the machines?
Are you talking? Is the question to Ramiz or to Milad?
I'm talking to the person that's on the screen here in front of me, and that's you with a seatbelt. So where are you
Yes,
going to get the machines?
Milad will be getting the machine, all of them.
Okay, well then put him on, and I want to ask him
Yes,
that.
yes, absolutely. Milad.
Yes, I'm here. You hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear me?
Yes, we get a warehouse they call Ramsey. I put the receipt with the application. Was the machine is gonna come from what warehouse? We have a guy who's gonna take care of the machine. So I know the guy who used to work for Baja Liquor when I was a key employee, and I get the number from same owner if I can get the machine from that warehouse.
And what's the name of the guy that you're going to get the machines at this warehouse from? What's
The warehouse, his name is Ramsey, and I have the business cards on my location in the store for his warehouse and his machines.
And what's your relationship with him? You're going to buy the machines from him and go put them in your spot?
Yes, he's a warehouse selling machine. He's a licensing, and I get his number, like I said, from the previous owner. I used to work with him, and I contact him to give me an estimate, and I put the estimate on the same application of the gaming.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and you've never been licensed before, correct?
I used to no, as a gaming no, but I used to key employees for Baja Liquor back in 2014.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to see if my colleagues have any further questions for you. Do any of my commissioners have any questions for either of these two gentlemen?
So, Mr. Julag, it looks like I'm looking at this correctly. Nevada Slots and Supplies. Does that sound familiar?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So you're getting the machines from them, but are you going to be owning those machines and maintaining them yourself?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And do you have any experience with that?
I mean, like I say, I used to work for Baja Liquor. So the only thing I know about to reset the machine, I mean, to take the money and do it. But if I anything on maintenance, there is a guy we used to call to come maintenance the machine. But really, I don't have any information because I left the job since 2015, and I just come back to this job I buy the store January 9, 2020. So it's been 5 years, but I will get the number again, and I will contact him, yeah, for sure.
Because I think that's probably the main area of concern with someone who's taking on a new type of business like this or getting involved in gaming is that we want someone there that has some experience with the machines and is familiar with how to operate as a gaming entity. And I think that's a little bit in question right now. Have you been to the gaming class? Have you taken that?
No, because the COVID-19 class, so they pushed me to February of 2021.
Okay,
And
so
that's
you were
what-
signed up?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. Have you considered getting a slot route operator? I know that it's a few machines, but have you thought about that?
Of what? If I get what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you right.
Someone to oversee that for you.
Yes, of course, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay. And have you spoken to anyone besides Nevada Slot and Supplies about administrating over those machines?
No, really, not yet. Like I say, I used to have someone take care of the machine over there, but I will contact him again to have him for sure to come if I get the machines.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other commissioners have any comments before I make a few more comments? Or
This is Commissioner Brown. Can you hear me?
yes, Commissioner Brown.
Thank you. I just wanted to make an observation. I think it would be helpful in the future when you appear in front of the Gaming Control Board and the commissioners that you prepare and you're in a place where you're not distracted and you can listen to questions and you appear professional, because this is really a very serious and important process, and we're here and we give you respect and we just ask for a little reciprocity.
Yes, you're right. Yes, you're right.
We apologize for that.
I couldn't agree more. I don't know if my colleagues have any other questions, but I'm inclined to not approve this item. And I'm inclined to see if there's a motion made to refer this back to staff for further inquiry as to the source of the machines and the qualifications of the silent partner and the gentleman who's in front of us. I'm getting two different stories from the last time that he appeared in front of the board. And I think that might be something that our staff should probably take a look at. So having said that, I would not be supportive of any motion, conditioned or otherwise. I would not be in favor, nor would I support any motion to grant approval at this time. I completely agree with Commissioner Brown that if somebody doesn't have the time in their busy schedule to sit in a place and take this by video, like all of us do every single month. Yet the last time we saw this gentleman, he was in the stock room of a supposed business location. This time we have him and his silent partner driving down the street, and we're trying to conduct a meeting in the most important industry in the state of Nevada, and not getting the answers that I really want to hear. So in any event, that's where I'm at. That's my discussion. I don't have any more questions for either of these two gentlemen, but I'll turn it over to the commission at this time.
May I say something, Commissioner?
No, not yet. Not yet. I'll let you know. I'll come back.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Do any of my colleagues have any questions?
Mr. Chair, if I may, I share your concerns about what we've heard today, and I have reservations about moving forward with the record that's been made. Rather than vote for a denial, which may have consequences on other licenses, I feel it appropriate that, at least, from my view, that this matter be referred back to staff to get additional information to us, and we can take it up at a later time.
I agree. Do any of the other commissioners have any comments on that? If not, if that would be your motion, is to refer it back to staff according to the disclosures in the transcript in today's meeting. I would like to hear that motion.
Before a motion is made, I'm sorry, before a motion is made, I would just like, for clarity of the record, because it really wasn't clear to me, gentlemen, if you could just explain with as much detail and specificity as possible the source of the machines, because I know the question was asked and we weren't satisfied. And I'd like to give you a final opportunity to just explain it and take your time. We're in no rush here, and give us as much detail so that we can at least ask you questions before bringing a motion and possibly referring it back. Thank you.
Okay, can I give you like an idea? The first time when I was up here, through front of the commissioner, the first board meeting, I was alone. I wasn't. Milad was not available, and I was at work, but I was in my office, and I was not. My intention was not disrespect you guys, or being like disrespect to any of you. But what happened is I drove from San Diego to Vegas just to be with him for this day meeting, just to make sure both of us in the same time. The commissioner, the first question was refer, I believe, was to Milad. Maybe I was confused with the questions. It was related to him instead of me. I'm a silent partner with him. I'm a 50% owner in the business, but I don't have the ideas of how to operate machine and where to buy the machines. But I just wanted to be here with him today, as requested, and by any means is not disrespect to be in a different location. It just happened that he had something to get back from one point to one point to come back to the business, and we're not far away from our business. We were just about to pull in, but we had to pull over, and we can't be driving, and we had to pull over in the parking lot to discuss this, meeting. But please don't take that and by any means disrespectful to anyone of you guys. And but he can answer all the question has related to the machine, where to buy, and how to run them, and how to operate them. He have all these questions, all these answers to you guys.
Well, I appreciate your explanation.
I really
the record notes that.
Anyone. We apologize.
That I note your apology, and I note your explanation to Commissioner Brown. I'm prepared to entertain a motion to refer this back to staff so that we can get our arms around this. I have no degree whatsoever, have no degree of confidence in these two individuals to have into their possession a gaming device offered to the public in the state of Nevada. So maybe after staff, they can get to the bottom of it and bring it back. But other than that, my only alternative is I would never support their approval at this time. Commissioner Cohen, did you have something?
Then I would so move to refer this matter back to staff with emphasis on reviewing the quote hidden partner aspect as denoted in the presentation, and also aspects as to their qualifications to in fact be a licensee regarding gaming in the state of Nevada.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any discussion by the commission on the motion before we call for a vote?
Mr. Chairman, I would just urge the applicants to maybe consider looking into obtaining some kind of slot route operator that would help them at least initially get into this arena before they try to navigate these waters on their own.
Thank you, Commissioner Solis-Rainey. All right, no other
Chair
comments?
Moran?
Yes.
I just wanted to remind you of the 120-day rule pursuant to NRS 463.220, requiring the commission to act within 120 days, and just advise that you set this for a future agenda, possibly the one in January.
Yes, if we can comply with that by putting it back on the January agenda, then we would do it that way. Otherwise, we'll have to make another motion that won't give them as much time, because that would be probably a final motion on them. So yeah, if we have enough time to put it onto the January agenda, that would be fine. I'd be fine with putting that back on then. They need to go to staff, and staff has to get to the bottom of it, or there's no need to put it on a January agenda.
Deputy Attorney General Browning, do I have to amend my motion or add that to be heard no later than the commission hearing in January? Or are we okay?
I think we're okay. No need to amend, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Ms. Brining, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, Deputy Attorney General Brining, is January the latest that this can be heard in order to satisfy the 120-day rule?
No, I just advise that be put on sooner rather than later, so we don't run into that.
If I may, then, okay. I might suggest if we have the capability within the 120-day, I would suggest maybe having it put on after the seminar is available to the applicants.
And that's very good. And another thing is, always keep in mind, and we've done it in the past, if we're running up against a 120-day rule, we can have the applicant enter into an agreement to waive that requirement. We've done that before too. So we'll need to diary this, make sure we don't run afoul of the 120. If we're running up against 120, we'll have our attorney go and see if they'd enter into a waiver requirement, or we'll put it on in January. Does that make sense?
It does, Chair.
Okay, so we have a motion, Madam Secretary. The motion is to refer it back to staff, and I'd ask Madam Secretary to call for the vote.
Commissioner Fuchs?
Aye.
Commissioner Cohen?
Aye.
Commissioner Solis-Rainey?
Aye.
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
Chairman Moran?
Aye. Okay, the matter will be referred back, and I would recommend you get a hold of our staff applicants and get this thing worked out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes care of That takes care of the restricted agenda. Madam Secretary, let's go to the next item.
The next item on for your consideration, you have a stipulation for settlement and order settling the claim for refund in the matter of Cactus Pete's LLC doing business as Cactus Pete's Resort Casino, case number 20-01-RTR.
Very good. And I'd ask Mr. Somps to appear and do the presentation, a brief presentation on this, and then we can take it back to the commission. So is Mr. Somps and or the other side on this, Cactus Pete's?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This is Mike Somps, commission members, Madam Secretary. I'm with the Attorney General's office here today on behalf of the board. Very quickly, before you for approval is a stipulation for settlement between the board and Cactus Pete's. It's of a claim for refund that was filed by Cactus Pete's. It is a claim for refund because the licensee overreported gaming revenue for the month of March 2020, and that resulted in an overpayment of gross gaming revenue taxes. So the audit division has reviewed the claim for refund and has confirmed the refund amount, which is reflected in the settlement agreement you have before you. The total amount to be refunded is $55,014.95 plus the interest that's reflected there. Happy to answer any questions you have, though.
Thank you, Mr. Somps. I didn't have any questions. I reviewed all the documentation and you and I had chatted about it. And I had a couple of questions on the interest that got resolved. So I'm fine with it, but I'd like to see if my fellow commissioners may have some questions for you. Okay. I don't see anybody has any questions. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd move for approval of the petition for a refund as read into the record.
Thank you, Commissioner Solis Rainey. Motion, I'd ask Madam Secretary to call for the vote.
Commissioner Fuchs?
Aye.
Commissioner Cohen?
Aye.
Commissioner Solis Rainey?
Aye.
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
Chairman Moran?
Aye. Okay. Motion carries and the claim for refund is granted.
Thank you.
Mr. Somps, good job on that.
Thank you.
All right. All right, next item.
Next item, you have one gaming employee registration appeal for your consideration pursuant to NRS 463.335. That item is WEMA, case number 2020-7222L.
Okay. Do we have a person on this one? The petitioner. I think she's represented by an attorney as well. Is the attorney and her present?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. This is Attorney Jack Buchanan Defense Law, and I do have the applicant who is present. She is in my office. I can turn, I'm hoping you can see me. I can turn the camera so you guys can see that she's here.
Yes, Mr. Buchanan, thank you. And welcome to the commission meeting. And we can see her there. Very good. Do you have an interpreter there as well? Or does she need?
We do, Your Honor. She has her son here. She understands pretty decent English to a degree. He's going to kind of assist her. If she has to respond to any questions, she can do so in English. However, he is going to just assist her. I plan to kind of talk mostly on her behalf, just so the language barrier doesn't trip us up too much. But she is prepared to answer some questions with the help of her son, who's also present.
Did you have a presentation, Mr. Buchanan, at this time?
I do. I certainly, if it pleases everybody, I would like to just reiterate some of the positions and some of the arguments that we made before the Gaming Control Board. I certainly recognize that, this hearing is confined to the record there, and I'm not going to add anything, but I do want to kind of rehash some of our arguments so that ultimately Mr. Chairman and the commission can ultimately really see, why she's here and why she's really adamant and committed to seeking this appeal and seeking another chance. There was two fronts that ultimately she has an issue with. Number one, which certainly the Gaming Control Board took quite a big issue with, and I do recognize that, was that on her GER application, she neglected to note that she had been arrested and or cited and or charged, as the application is pretty clear. If we had a time machine, certainly I wish she would have asked me for assistance in filling out that application. She knows she marked the wrong box, that she hadn't been arrested or charged or cited. However, that's clearly belied by the facts of the matter that she was arrested. She knows that. This wasn't a situation where she had an issue in another jurisdiction far away and thought that maybe gaming agents wouldn't see it on a background check. I mean, she was arrested at the Mirage at the time of her employment by gaming agents. However, she's indicated to me that she should have sought some help in that application. She hadn't been charged, hadn't appeared in court at that point. So she says she misread or misunderstood the question there as to had she been arrested. But clearly she knows she was. She is not of the type of person that would think that somehow, some way, gaming agents were not going to, or the gaming control board or any sort of the gaming capacity wouldn't realize that she had been arrested when in fact she was arrested by their authority. So she's certainly very apologetic for that. We recognize that the gaming control board in our previous hearing did take quite a big issue with that. And so certainly that's something that she would not let happen again. I would assist her personally, or I'm sure she would have somebody of competent nature assist her in any further application should she ever get another chance in the gaming industry. The second aspect is, of course, what led to her arrest, and that was the cheating at gaming allegation. And ultimately, she has pled guilty. I'll get to that in a minute. We did resolve her criminal case that ultimately did proceed through the Clark County District Attorney's Office. It was a case where there really exists zero motive. It was a case where she was, disregarding hand signals from a player. But ultimately, the gaming agents did confirm that they had no relationship. They did not know each other. They were not working as a team. This was just an anomaly. This was a complete aberration by her, in that this player indicated to her that he wanted some help playing the game, and several of her hands, her whole card was not secured. She was viewing it, and ultimately it was helping him a bit. What's ironic of this whole situation was that she practically gained absolutely nothing from these actions. He was placing dollar chips at various stages in front of his primary bet for her to potentially win a tip if he won the hand. Some of those were won. If we did the calculations based on the number of employees in Mirage where they pull their tips, based on the hands that he won, the net win for her would have been in the cents, not even in the dollars. The player did not even end up winning. He left the table down. So really, it's a confusing situation that she was in, that she was trying, I think, to help this individual, and really had a complete lack of judgment after 10 years of completely impeccable record and service as a dealer in various casinos here in Las Vegas. When I talked to her, I said, well, how could this happen? What could lead you to this? She indicated to me she was at this time going through a tough time. And again, not financial trouble, not like she was doing this to profit, because she didn't, but she had lost her husband a year prior, or a couple months prior to this incident. She was having trouble sleeping. She was taking over-the-counter medication, and it was affecting to a degree, I think, her mental health and her judgment. She still was working. She was working 2 jobs simultaneously. She was working at both the Mirage and Green Valley Ranch. And so, whatever happened that day, it's kind of hard to explain because it's not a situation where, as individuals I've represented, roulette cheat teams. I've represented various boxmen that have capped chips or stolen chips, pocketed chips. I mean, she profited nothing. In fact, it's a zero-sum game, more so to the negative, in that she also lost her employment. So this action gained nothing. The casino, I know I'm not at all to try to minimize this, but they actually won money from the individual who was playing in front of her at the time, and ultimately she's lost her job and her livelihood. So certainly that's one thing I want to, I definitely want to emphasize. But she certainly is just embarrassed and absolutely unequivocally just regretful in her behavior that day in this very isolated small incident that again was very, very strange and I think unique. And I mentioned unique a number of times to the gaming agent. I think I even asked him at one point, I believe it was Mr. Austin. I said, "You ever seen kind of really anything like this?" And he couldn't necessarily recall, but I think as I've explained to her, the gaming in the state of Nevada is the lifeblood of the state. It's to be respected and certainly very scrutinized, and for good reason. And so she still did affect the integrity of gaming, even in that short, very isolated incident. And that's why obviously we're here. To refresh everyone's, I guess, update, I'm not sure if you have it. When we were doing the gaming board hearing, she at that point had not been charged at all by the district attorney's office. We had made a couple appearances in Las Vegas Justice Court. She hadn't been charged. Quite honestly, at that point, I did not know whether or not she would be charged. The DA's office felt it was worthy enough for a prosecution. In fact, they did charge her. She was originally charged with 1 count of cheating in gaming. Ultimately, I met with the district attorney's office multiple times, and we came to a resolution wherein they dropped the felony charge. She ultimately pled down to a gross misdemeanor conspiracy to commit burglary. Ultimately, then they agreed to have no opposition to probation. And most importantly, if she successfully completed her probation, which only the district court judge only gave her probation for 6 months, they would dismiss the entire thing. The only other condition we had stipulated to was that she would pay $1,000 fine. That was made payable to the court, which she already has done. Our sentencing occurred back on October 26th. My calculations with the way they'll calculate everything, will probably get off probation. She'll probably off probation sometime in February, maybe March. And then this whole matter would be dismissed. And that would be behind her. And there's a number of reasons why we sought that negotiation. She wants to, have a clean record. She has nothing in her past, absolutely zero, no other gaming issues whatsoever. 10 to 12 years of dealing. She's a fast dealer. She's a good dealer. Just made one mistake, one mistake, and she's asking for another chance. As we were sitting here, I was speaking with her. She did mention to me both her managers that she had a good relationship with at both Mirage and Green Valley Ranch had indicated to her, should she ever receive a gaming card again, they would hire her on the spot. Now that was back in March, I guess a little bit before the COVID situation really broke. But maybe they're probably in need of dealers. And with everything going on, she thinks that they would hire her back in an instant because they know her character and they recognize that this was, as I mentioned, an aberration. That's really our position. I don't do too many of these, but when I looked at her and looked in her eyes, she was committed to go all the way. When we lost at the Gaming Control Board, I explained to her appellate options, and she did not hesitate to bring this before the commission. It's been a little while. It's been approximately almost 6 months since that. She has not been working, but she's maintaining the commitment to seek a second chance after this incident.
Okay. Mr. Buchanan, a question for you. First of all, you did some very fine lawyering, and this case isn't a case of first impression for me. I used to do a little defense work in my time, and I'm familiar with the concept that they didn't receive any money and of no benefit. But, I had a question, first of all, on she starts out with a felony cheating and gambling, and through the efforts of her counsel, you get it down to a wobbler, a gross misdemeanor, correct?
This one was actually, Judge, Chairman, this was a straight gross misdemeanor. It wasn't a wobbler. the conspiracy to commit burglary under NRS 205-060 was a straight gross.
Okay, straight gross, and she's currently on probation then still, correct?
Correct. She is still on probation. She has not received a discharge as of yet. Once she gets the discharge, the dismissal won't be automatic. We'll have to go back in before Department 23. I think Judge Miley retired, so I'm not sure who's taken over her calendar, but then we go in and seek the dismissal, provided that they verify, obviously, she stayed out of trouble and completed all her other conditions.
Okay, so if she doesn't fulfill her conditions, that stays as a gross misdemeanor, and then her probation is revoked and she goes to whatever the sentence is by the district court judge, correct?
That is absolutely correct. She does have, as is typical of any gross misdemeanor, she does have jail time hanging over her head.
Okay. Well, the first problem that we have is historically people that are in constructive custody of the state. We have always viewed that from the commission level that they aren't eligible to get a work card, get back in to the business. And I'm sure you're familiar with that because I know that you do gaming work as well. And so that preliminarily is it would be a problem for me in terms of that. But I am concerned as well, and you can have her answer or you can. What really concerns me is the probation that she is on now, being in constructive custody of the state. After that, what concerns me is the proposition that, according to my reports, this had been going on for some period of time. I think she was observed at least 25 times engaged in this kind of activity from the information that I've seen and the surveillance and incident reports that confirmed that she was looking at the card, the whole card prior to dealing it. So it had been ongoing. Another problem that I have with this, and I'll give you an opportunity to address some of these if you'd like, but another problem is that the cheating at gaming, you commit a felony in the state of Nevada if you alter the random selection of the game. And that's pretty set forth in 465.015.1 that's what happens. So you can't do that. If you alter what's supposed to happen randomly in a game and you alter that random outcome, you've committed an act of a felony, cheating at gambling in the state of Nevada. And it doesn't go on to excuse that she's sorry or she didn't get any money or she didn't know what she was doing, or that doesn't seem to be an enunciated exception to the rule. So those are the problems that I'm having. Now, having said that, I don't know if you want to address any of those, but I'd be more than happy to hear from you on that, or your client.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So I'll take the last part first. Yeah, we absolutely echo exactly what you said. It does not excuse or even mitigate her behavior. The game was altered because she was seeing her whole card and was assisting this player, irrespective of the fact that she didn't get any money, which I don't believe is in dispute. Yes, it doesn't at all really mitigate what she did, because the law is clear. And while I recognized, I think with everything going on with the COVID situation, what position the district attorney's office would take, I wasn't overly surprised that they did still file a charge. Having done this for a while, I certainly recognize that the relationship I think the DA's office has with the gaming industry to take these very seriously and to not let this one go by. As far as the first part being in the constructive possession of the state, or custody of the state rather, she is on formal probation out of the 8th Judicial District Court. There's no question about that. As I mentioned, it's going to be short. Usually probation on a gross misdemeanor is generally not to exceed 2 years, which could lead to about a year or so. Judge Miley, at the time of sentencing, decided after our arguments and essentially reiterating what I've said today, decided to do it as a not to exceed 6 months. But can't go past 6 months, which means at the absolute maximum, she would be on probation not past April, the end of April of 2021. But with her being compliant and already having paid her fine, we think she's probably going to get off probation, maybe even in January. So, if there's certainly an option or some sort of way to temporarily, I guess, withhold the granting, should this commission obviously decide to give her a second chance, she would happily take that up after this has been dismissed, and so that her probation is done. Because again, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, it's very close to happening, and it could happen honestly any day, depending on probation and their submission to the department for the honorable discharge, which we have no doubt she will get, which then will lead to the dismissal. So certainly, yeah, we can't dispute that. If the commission is uncomfortable with that, we respect that. That being said, she's willing to do whatever it takes. I mean, and any other conditions that this commission were to set forth, a probationary period, any sort of continued classes or anything, quite frankly, she would do it. And that's why we're here today. So she just wasn't going to let the Gaming Control Board, that decision stand. She wanted it to be heard by any human being that would hear it. And that's why we filed the appeal. So that's what she's here to do.
Yeah, I understand. And this happened fairly recently, January 28th, 2020, I believe was the date of the arrest. So this happened this year, which is, there's not a lot of days after this happened that have gone by. She got the benefit, I can see already up front, of a great attorney, and also the fact that you were able to keep her from going down on a felony. That was remarkable. But in any event, I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues and see how they feel about this, and we'll bring it back and see where we're at. So do any of the commissioners want to weigh in on this?
Mr. Chairman,
all of us.
Everybody weighed in. Commissioner Fuchs.
Great, thank you. Mr. Buchanan, thanks for being here today. And as Chairman Rand stated, I think that she's fortunate to have you as her counsel. I have no desire to move forward with this. Under the circumstances of her being guilty, the charges of cheating and gambling are very serious ones. And the fact that she's on probation, and there is a potential that probation could lead to more serious things if probation doesn't go as she's planning. So my desire is to sustain the current objection and not move forward with any changes.
Okay.
Thank
you, Commissioner Fuchs.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioners? Commissioner Cohen?
Yes, sir. Mr. Buchanan, we as fellow lawyers, when the law's not on your side, you try and argue the facts, and you've done your best. It is of no moment to me in this particular appeal that neither your client nor the patron received any sort of monetary gain or abnormal monetary gain. What this commission is charged with focusing on is the integrity of the game. Your client, you stated for your client that she'd been 12 years in the business. Clearly, she knew as a dealer in blackjack, being around for 12 years, that go ahead and exposing, the whole card or looking at the next card to come out of a shoe and unilaterally determine whether to give that to a patron, regardless of that patron's knowledge of the game, is criminal. In fact, it's so criminal, she was charged. In fact, it was so criminal, you couldn't defend it. In fact, it was so criminal, you did a great job having it reduced. The fact that she may go on probation, again, is of no moment to at least me in this matter, because I can't find any way to fashion a remedy for what happened to allow a person who has pled guilty for a gross misdemeanor for burglary in the context of dealing 25 times or 24, 25 that altered the state of the game. Maybe down the road, something will change and you can bring it, you won't be able to bring it back to the commission. The question is, obtaining a work card or getting someone, to hire her with this. And just to note, even if this thing is expunged from the record, that doesn't make it go away from Ms. Way. It would still have to be disclosed, down the road. So anyway, I've said enough, but there's no way I can support any sort of any support to go ahead and do anything other than affirm the findings of Chad Levingsworth. I always have problems with his name in this matter. Thank you.
Any other commissioners wish to comment or ask questions?
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to reiterate, I agree with the comments made by both you and my fellow commissioners. The point to me was the fact that it affected the integrity of the game and the recentness of the offense and the conviction. I do appreciate her owning the error, and given her experience, clearly she's going to suffer for it. I wouldn't want to foreclose it from seeking a license maybe down the road several years if everything else is clean, but I'm not prepared to go forward at this time either.
All right, I'm going to make a comment. Is there going to be a motion? And then I want to make a comment on the motion.
Before there's a motion, Chair Moran, I just have one question that it still eludes me. And I'm hoping either council or Ms. Ma can clarify the record for me because I don't understand. Between 2014 forward through January 28th, 2020, it's my understanding that there were approximately 25 prior incidents. And I don't understand with any specificity the nature of those incidents. Were they all exactly alike in terms of showing the whole card as you take it out of the shoe? I don't understand that. If somebody could please clarify the record for me. And go ahead, please.
Well, it's my understanding that the 25 times was from that single night. This was an isolated incident. This was not something that was over the course of multiple years. It was 25 hands that had that occurred on that single night in January.
This is what to answer or try to answer Commissioner Brown as to the incidents. The reports indicate there was surveillance video of approximately 25 prior incident reports that confirmed that she cheated by looking at a whole card prior to dealing it to either a patron or herself. That she didn't apparently commit these infractions every time she dealt, but it appears from the reports that she committed them over 25 times since 2014. So she had been engaged in this, according to our information and reports, for a long period of time. But having said that, I have some comments. Commissioner Cohen, you've made a motion at this point. Is that correct?
I haven't made the motion, but I will.
Okay, take a motion.
I would move to go ahead and move to affirm the findings of the hearing officer and the recommendation of the Gaming Control Board and deny the appeal.
Okay. I want to make a couple of comments on that motion. Okay, and then I'll call for the vote unless any other commissioners wish to make comments as well. I think that's the appropriate motion in this case. I would support that motion. The one thing that the state of Nevada has had since the beginning of time and being the gold standard is that we don't allow any form of cheating to occur in this state. Because if you let cheating happen and you don't discipline it, okay, what you end up with is you have a public that then becomes distrustful. We are entrusted with the trust of the public concerning the integrity of the gaming industry and the games that are being done. And we're entrusted as commissioners, not only with that integrity, but making sure that the games are fair and there's no ability to cheat the system. We hold a high standard for our employees. Any employees that engage in cheating in the state of Nevada, their term is going to be short in the gaming business, and I would recommend that they find other employment in another industry. She did two things right. One, she got a very good attorney, and he did his best. That was wise. And she didn't allegedly to her take any money. But I've been around gaming long enough to know that dealers get tokes, and if they're letting the patrons play because they're looking at and win because they're looking at the whole card and getting big tokes because they're tipping their hand to the players, that's a form of cheating too. But when you alter the random selection of the game, the statute's clear. There's no exceptions. If you cheat in the state of Nevada, you can't be employed in the state of Nevada. It's my understanding that if we were to pass this motion by Commissioner Cohen, that she would be eligible to come back in a year, assuming she's not on probation, and reapply. I don't think personally, nowhere near has enough time gone by since she was arrested on January 28, 2020, and her being on probation. Therefore, for all those reasons, I would be very supportive of the motion that's made. Having said that, I don't know if any of the other commissioners have anything else they want to add before I call for the vote. Okay, I don't see anybody. Okay, Madam Secretary, would you call for the vote?
Commissioner Fuchs,
Aye.
Commissioner Cohen,
Aye.
Commissioner Solis Rainey,
Aye.
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Chairman Moran.
Aye. Motion carries as made by Commissioner Cohen. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buchanan.
Okay. Madam Secretary, what would our next item be? Administrative reports?
That is correct.
Okay. Who do we hear from on that?
Do you have any comments that you would like to make?
No, I was going to wait and see if the board chair or one of the board members. I don't know what our next agenda, how long it's going to be in January, but I know we have a rump coming up first part of January, right after the first of the year, and I think the board's going to meet on January. Correct me if I'm wrong. 6th. I think rump is January 5, but I don't know how many items are going to come back before us. Our agendas have been kind of short, but I don't really see too much more out there. I haven't heard anything. One thing I did want to mention that occurred in this meeting as noticed, and this is, and I'll take it up on the administrative portion. I as chairman, and I know I as a commissioner, and I've got a lot of experiences as commissions, both commissioners and chair. I don't appreciate it when there is an applicant before our commission or the board that doesn't seem to have the time necessary to sit down at an office and view us on the screen. In the old days, everybody had to come down and I loved it. It was fun and everybody got to come down and be in person. It was easy. But in these trying times, at least since February, we've been doing these remotely and not having the benefit of a hearing. Now, if somebody can't even take time to find a computer and sit down in a secure location rather than their car or in the stock room of their business, it really makes me not feel very positive about their application, that they're asking me to spend my time on to see that the right thing happens. So I don't know if we can, and maybe this is something that I should be asking our attorneys, Ms. brightening on this, but I got to tell you, I think there should be some kind of a understanding from this point going forward on these applications and people that come before us, our sitting commission, that we demand some solidity. We demand some showing us that you're going to take time out of your schedule and get somewhere where we can engage in a conversation and discussion about the matters that are most important to you, your applications, and you bringing them before us. So I've just got to say on this portion of the agenda, I really hope in the future that people that file applications, people that are called in front of us, will come in front of us in a secure location where we can ask them questions and inquire about the merits or lack thereof of their matters. So having said that, that's all I have to say at this time on this that just happened today, but that's about it for me. I guess we can go to the next item.
Chair Gibson is available if you would like him to discuss next month's meeting or any other item.
Great. I would love to hear that. Yes, for sure. Please.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, and Secretary Bell. So we're going to have a meeting on January 6th, starting at 9 a.m. It'll be a one-day meeting. We have 8 non-restricted items. I don't expect them to go too long. And then we'll start our restricted agenda at 10:30, and that's an approximate time. This is technically our Carson City meeting, though that it could be on Mars technically, just given the way things are made up these days. So we have 14 restricted items. And then we also have a reg discussion and potentially a recommendation, reg 7A, and then same thing for reg 5110, which is in-house progressive payoff schedules. So that's what we have, sir, next month.
Very, very good. And it's always good to see you. And thank you for giving us a heads up on that. All right.
Thank you,
I
sir.
guess that portion of it is done. I would wish everybody a happy holiday on this. I guess we have public comment at the end of this, Madam Secretary, correct?
That is correct.
All right.
This item is placed on the agenda to give the public an opportunity to comment on gaming related matters. We did not receive any written public comments during the meeting.
Okay, very good then. Well, I guess we should adjourn the meeting. We will call this meeting closed. I wish everybody to have a safe, happy, and very healthy holiday season. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and I'm wishing you and your families well during these really hard times. But there is light at the end of the tunnel, and we'll keep plugging forward. So thank you very much, and best of luck to everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
And
Happy
all.
holidays, everybody.
Bye-bye.
See you in 2021. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Stay safe. Bye.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.